Hi guys! I am trying to do a live video. This is my first time using this program and I don't think I'm showing up on the screen. So let me see if I can figure out real quick. This is why I usually don't do live videos. Here we go. Start camera. Let's see. Oh, I have to know the password for this. Hold on one sec. We'll be starting in just a couple minutes. So if you just hopped on and you saw there's a live video, but you're not sure what's going on, just take a moment to do what you need to do, and I will get this started in just a minute. Okay, let's see here. Okay. I'm using my husband's laptop because he has a much better camera than mine. So, apparently I don't have access to the camera on here without his permission. So he's just sending me the password real quick. We're multitasking. Let's see if that works. Okay, I don't know if you can see me. It says it's working. Let's see what else we need to do. Let's see. Okay. Video. Let's see. Put stream general. Okay, I don't know if this is even working. So let me just see what you guys are seeing. All right. I don't even know if you guys can hear me. Hi, guys. Oh, there's a delay. Okay. Hi. So, let's see. I think there's a delay, so I don't even know if it's working on your end or not. So let me just see. I'm assuming that once I can see myself on here, that means you guys can see me too. It sounds like you can probably hear me. So let's see how I can do that. Studio mode. Let's see. Transition. You guys, this is why I don't do live videos that are complicated. I don't mind doing them straight from my phone. That's easy. But when I have a lot of images I want to show, I need to use a program. And I haven't done this in a really long time. It takes a lot of time to set up and prepare all the images, but I wanted to do it this time and give it another try. I haven't done this in I want to say 2, maybe 3 years. So bear with me, you guys. It says that my camera is recording. I don't see myself on here. It says that I have the green light. It says I'm live. I'm pretty sure you can hear me. You just can't see me. And let me just real quick see what I need to do to fix this. So pardon me just for a minute, you guys. If you have something you need to do real quick, don't feel obligated to sit on here right now and wait. You can always watch this later, but I'm going to just search real quick what I need to do, and then we will get started. Let's see. Oh, maybe this is why. No. Oh, let's see. Maybe it's this. Okay. Oh, yes. I think I'm figuring it out, you guys. Let's see. So the capture device. Okay. There's 2 of those. Give source and name. Audio capture, audio output capture, audio input. Display capture. Video capture. There it is. I think I did it. Oh, that makes me so joyful. Okay, I hope this works. Let me make it bigger. And let's just play around real quick. Oh, I probably shouldn't play around because I don't want to make it disappear again. Okay, transition. Oh, there we go. Okay. I hope this is working. And I know there's a delay on the live, so I just wanted to go on there and see if this is working. Okay. All right, if there is anybody out there right now, if you can give me a thumbs up or just let me know if this is working for you, if you can see what's on the screen, it really would help me out because I think there's definitely a delay. Let me go out of here and see. Oh, yay. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, guys. All right, let's go ahead and get started then. I am really excited to talk to you guys today. That's why I wanted to do a live video because, yay! Hi, Larry. I'm hoping this camera on here is a good camera. I know I did this a few years ago and people complained that the resolution of the camera on my older Mac was really grainy and they didn't like it. It just kind of was distracting, I guess. So I'm hoping my husband's laptop, it's newer, so it should have a better quality camera. So if there's anything throughout the course of this live video that you guys notice that's distracting or bothers you or you could do without, give me feedback. So if I do this again, I know what to switch out and what not to do. Okay, but let's get started. My kids will start getting home from school in about 30 minutes or so I want to get right into it. Okay, you guys, I'm so excited. I have so much to talk about, and I really want to see if I can get it all in a shorter amount of time. When I do a live video, I don't have to edit it, so it's really a benefit for me, but it's also fun because I can interact with you live, and we can talk about things. You can decide where you want the video to go, or if there's a certain topic you want me to spend more time on. It's an opportunity for us to discuss, and I love that. So I'm going to do my best to follow and monitor your comments as they come in, and yeah, let's see what happens. Okay, you guys, so I was super excited last night. This is what triggered me to want to do a video today. I watched the Canadian Devotional this week that President Nelson and Sister Wendy Nelson spoke at. I don't know if any of you have had the chance to see it or if you know about it. That's why I'm doing this video, because if you don't know about it, you need to. I was so excited and blown away with what I heard that this morning, as soon as I woke up, I sent a text to my entire family and all my siblings and their spouses, and I just said, you guys, you have to watch this. This is so important. And I think it's awesome. I know it was meant just for the saints of Canada, but I'm so grateful that we have the opportunity to also watch the broadcast because there's a link. So I'll have that down in the video description. At the end of the video, I'll put it there so you can go watch it. I might show some clips from it. That's also a benefit of doing a live video is I can just quickly transition to videos, images, and we can just go wherever you want to go with it. So anyways, if you had a chance to see it, I would love to hear your thoughts or anything you want to add to it. But there were certain things that stood out to me that have to do with the things that I've been thinking about lately and feeling and pondering. So it just felt like the timing for this video was just right. So I am so excited. So let's just get right into it. I think what we'll do is we'll start there. Let's start with Sister Wendy Nelson's address, and then we'll move forward, but we'll talk about what President Nelson said. And then we'll kind of go backwards, and I'll tie in all of my screenshots I've taken in the last week or two. We're going to talk about events in the news, things happening in the sky, the weather, all these different things where I'm seeing patterns that sort of tie in to this message. It just always seems to all come full circle. It all just connects. So let's go ahead and get started. I've organized these images. So let's see if I can get right to them. Let's see here. Let's start. Let's do this. Okay. So I don't quite yet know how to keep me on the screen along with the image. So maybe I'll just kind of play around with that. Cut. No, I don't think I want to do that either. Okay, so that's fine. We will just put the image on the screen. Okay, sorry. Let me get to where I need to go. Let's start here with news. I think it was. Nope. Leaders? Yes. Okay. Sorry, you guys. And it looks like it's going to show all of the images at once on my screen. Like I said, it's my first time using this program, so I am just learning as I go, and maybe that's not the best thing to do, is learn in a live video, but today that's what we've got. So let me see if I can just figure this out. Oh goodness. Let's see here. Cut. Nope. Okay, well, that's fine. Wonder, guys, probably something really easy. I just need to get some practice in. After I've done a couple of these, oh my goodness, I will have my act together. So I don't know why it shows all the images at once. I really don't. All right, you guys. Okay, that's fine. Okay, well, oh my gosh, you guys. Let me try to get to that first one. It's just not showing them. They're there. Oh, brother, you guys. Let's see. Maybe I need to lock it. Is that what I need to do? Lock, 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 lock. Nope, that didn't make a difference either. Okay. Gosh, I don't know. Okay. Let me try this one. Okay, there it is. I don't know why it won't show it. Maybe I just need to unlock it now. Let's see. Sorry, you guys. Okay, there's the one I want to talk about first, so I'm just gonna do this. Oh my goodness, just ignore what's off to the side. You guys, I apologize. I have not tried this program. I'm doing it live for the first time, so maybe what I'll do is I will just look off to the right side of my screen, and then it's not so distracting. Okay, so this first screenshot is, it's from the Instagram page, She Shares Goodness, and she already had the best parts, the highlights of her address, perfectly typed up in a quote. So I took screenshots of those, but then I also want to listen from Wendy herself, so you can hear it in her own words. So she says, here's the truth. The adversary goes to extraordinary lengths to try to prevent truth from being spoken and to prevent truth from being received. We knew that October 2022 General Conference was going to be a singular experience based solely upon the number and intensity of trials and attacks prior to conference. So right away, she was telling us, you guys, I don't know if you realize this, but at the last General Conference, we experienced all kinds of crazy attacks and opposition from the adversary. trying to prevent us from even having conference. And she didn't go into details about that, but she explains. So the next, let's see here. Let's go. I want to read the next quote. So, let's see. Here it is. Okay. Transition. Oh, I guess you lost me. I don't know how to get myself back, you guys. Oh my goodness. All right, well, let's just focus on this right here. Okay, so it says, that's probably all I need to say about that at this point. However, look me up in the next world and I'll tell you more. A lot more, brothers and sisters. So, of course, everybody that heard that, we were all thinking, we definitely can't wait now to see her in the next life so we can ask her the details of what happened. But she said, I wonder if you and I would study in just a little different way, actually perhaps in a much different way, each truth we received from this past general conference. If we had any idea of the price paid by our leaders to offer each truth to us. And so she's trying to tell us right there, you know, these leaders, they went through all kinds of opposition to be able to give this address. And if you only had any idea what that entailed, what they had to risk or suffer through to be there at conference to deliver their words, maybe if we knew that, we would take the time to study those talks even more and apply them in our lives. They would have more value for us if we understood the price paid for them to be delivered. So she says here, think of just one truth you received from our recent general conference. Now, would you treasure that truth? Want to share that truth? Want to live that truth even with more joy and exactness if under each speaker's name there were a caption noting what she or he had to go through, had to sacrifice, even had to suffer in order to speak that one truth? So that was absolutely incredible. I think that right there just had everybody thinking, I need to go back now and I need to listen to conference. I need to pay attention even more. And each talk I go through, ask myself, could this be a talk where somebody had to sacrifice, the speaker had to sacrifice in order to be here to give this message? And why? Why would the adversary interfere with this particular talk? What truth in this talk is really important? So much so that the adversary found it necessary to try to interfere and stop it from happening. So I think that's the way we need to approach conference even going forward, and just realize that it is a miracle that we're able to even put it on and have these speakers all together from all over the world, live streaming all over the world, right? Broadcasting live, that we're all able to join in at the same time and hear truth being spoken from the mouths of apostles and prophets. So I absolutely loved that. All right, so now I want to show you, I want to actually go in and play some of her video, and I'm going to see if I can quickly figure that out. Let's see. I trying to see if I can figure out how to, I think I need to go here. Yep, there we go. And let's see if I can figure out how to do that. All right, let me create a scene. I think I know how to do this now. And let's go to window capture. Okay. Let's see. Okay. I don't know if that did it. Let's see. Probably not. Let me try. Nope, that didn't do it either. So sorry, you guys. Capture, window capture. Oh, I bet it's this one here. Display capture. Yay! I think I figured it out. Oh, it just takes some time, but I'm sorry that I have to do that live at your expense. So hopefully if you're watching this later, you can just kind of fast forward a few seconds and not have to sit through the delays. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to go out of here now. Let's see. And let me open up her video. Here it is. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see that. Yep, I think you can. Okay, so let's go ahead and play that. I'm going to get right to the part in the video. It's 53 minutes and 9 seconds in. So let me just back it up a little bit. And let's go ahead and listen. Right there, I will start.
And speaking of more, I would now like to tell you a few of the things I know more than I ever did since President Nelson became the president of the church almost 5 years ago. I know more than ever that General Conference is filled with truths directly from the Lord and directed by the Lord. And because of that, I know more than ever that opposition to General Conference will always be fierce and relentless. So thank you for your prayers. Here's the truth. The adversary goes to extraordinary lengths to try to prevent truth from being spoken and to prevent truth from being received. We knew that October 2022 General Conference was going to be a singular experience based solely upon the number and intensity of trials and attacks prior to conference. That's probably all I need to say about that at this point. However, look me up in the next world and I'll tell you more, a lot more. Brothers and sisters, I wonder if you and I would study in just a little different way, actually perhaps in a much different way, each truth we received from this past General Conference if we had any idea of the price paid by our leaders to offer each truth to us. Think of just one truth you received from our recent General Conference. Now, would you treasure that truth, want to share that truth, want to live that truth with even more joy and exactness if under each speaker's name there were a caption noting what she or he had to go through, had to sacrifice, even had to suffer in order to speak that one truth? I know there is one Canadian woman who is treasuring and diligently living by one truth spoken by President Nelson. She texted a friend immediately after the Sunday morning session, quote, "Despite possible appearances, I feel like I've been barely holding things together. My marriage, my hopes to be loved, my kids. Because of all this, combined with lack of sleep for 15 years, significant trauma, and autoimmune health issues, I have been a wreck. I didn't even listen to any of General Conference in April. That was a first for me. I've let my temple recommend lapse, mostly due to poor planning and omission. However, this morning, I listened to a bit of General Conference, and just now, I heard the prophet speak. It was the talk I needed to hear now," she continued. "When President Nelson gave his apostolic blessing, I literally closed my eyes as if his hands were upon my head. I felt goosebumps and like I was buzzing. His words, to discern truth from error, hit me like lightning, and I was overcome with clarity and a reminder of what strength and blessings await me at the temple," end quote. My dear brothers and sisters, many speakers at our recent General Conference paid a high price to deliver their messages, and many of the over 200 million who experienced General Conference came well prepared, spiritually hungering to receive truth. And that is why October 2022 General Conference was remarkable.
All right, you guys. I'm hoping you were able to see that and hear that. I hope that showed up on the screen for you. I'm actually not sure if you're seeing what's on the left side of my screen or the right side of my screen. Oh, Yeah, I think I've figured it out now. Okay, let's figure this out. Are you seeing right now? Let's see. Okay, if you could just let me know what you're seeing on the screen right now, that'll help me know which screen is the screen that you see and which screen is the screen that I see. I feel really bad if I just played that video if you weren't able to see it. So I don't even know if you could hear it. So I apologize, you guys, if I need to play it again. It was a clip from Sister Nelson's recent devotional address from this week. It's really good. I just played it live right now, and I don't know if you were able to see it. So I'm guessing it wasn't showing. Let's see if you could hear it.
Our leaders.
Okay, you could hear it. So the audio was there. Okay, so that's what I want to talk about. I guess it's okay that you didn't need to see her giving the address as long as you could hear it. I was totally captivated by her words, and I think it just really, really stood out to me that she was trying to tell us something without telling us. She was trying to let us know that things happened leading up to this conference, and that there was, I believe she ended up talking about, I thought she said attacks, that people were attacked, whether it was their health or technology, or she didn't actually go into detail, but as she was describing it with what she could say, your imagination just starts to go like, I wonder what happened. I wonder if there were threats, or if it was technology, or people got sick, or what it could have been. But it sounds like there was quite a bit of things leading right up to conference that were pretty big things that could have prevented conference from happening, or certain speakers from being able to give their messages, but it ended up all working out. I would say that's by a miracle. And I know President Nelson has said we need to expect miracles going forward, and I would say that right there was a big one. So let's go ahead and just start right there. In fact, now that I know I figured this out, let me transition back here, and let's see if we can. There we go. Let's just play a little bit more of her video real quick, and let's see. I think you guys can see that. Yes, okay, I think we're good. Let's just play a few more seconds.
After conference, two friends who have served as leaders of a missionary training center and who are now serving as senior missionaries in Malta wrote, quote, "This conference was the very best. President Nelson, we feel you have asked us to get on the ark. No matter what happens, we know we will be prepared as we follow your lead." End quote. My dear brothers and sisters of Alberta and British Columbia, I know more than ever that for you and for me to be spiritually and even temporally safe, now is the time to stop putting question marks after what is said by the Lord's prophets, seers, and revelators. If we're going to be safe and stay safe, it is now time to use exclamation points after everything they say. That's exactly what President Nelson did long before he was called to the Quorum of the 12. That's exactly what will fortify our testimonies and help us through our Abrahamic tests and Abinadi moments. When you and I find ourselves desperately wanting to follow divine counsel, we will be becoming the righteous people President Nelson pleads for us to become, quote, "a people who are able, ready, and worthy to receive the Lord when he comes again," end quote. After 16 and a half years of marriage, I can tell you for sure that President Nelson is not given to hyperbole, not at all. I know more than ever that when he speaks from the pulpit, he is never exaggerating in order to cheer us up or pep us up. He only wants to offer the truth. With that in mind, listen to some of his words from October 2022 General Conference.
My dear brothers and sisters, so many wonderful things are ahead In coming days, we will see the greatest manifestations of the Savior's power that the world has ever seen. Between now and the time he returns with power and great glory, he will bestow countless privileges, blessings, and miracles upon the faithful.
I know more than ever that President Nelson says that what President Nelson says is what the Lord would have him say. President Nelson is the Lord's prophet, chosen, prepared, and instructed by him. I know more than ever that this is the Church of Jesus Christ. It is called by his name because it is his church. Jesus Christ stands at the head. I know more than ever that the Savior is counting on you and me to be his saints in these latter days, and he is providing the way through the words of his prophets. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
All right, you guys, that was pretty incredible. And, you know, I forgot to mention in the very beginning of conference, they talked about how they were supposed to be there at the Stake Center where this was being broadcasted from, but something happened, and I forget his name, the man who opened up the devotional, he said something to the effect of they were planning on all flying in to be there, and something happened with their airline. And so at first I thought, okay, maybe there was some kind of a delay or an incident, so the plane wasn't able to go, you know, just something like that. But the way he worded it, he said, we were very let down, like our airline let us down, as in, you know, we're disappointed. So to me, that sounded like it was intentional, that this airline didn't want to cooperate for some reason and get the leaders to their location so they could be at this conference. So they actually had to broadcast from another location. So you have like the choir and the people that are all at this Stake Center location, and then you have the prophet and his wife and Elder Renlund and his wife at this other location, and they're trying to broadcast back and forth from both locations, and then all of this is being broadcast to all of the saints in Canada. So that right there again, speaking of talking about opposition, right? Like how the adversary really is making an effort to, and I'm starting to feel it right now, he's really making an effort to interfere as much as he can with the prophet, with our leaders, getting truth out to us. He does not want that to happen. And if you notice, if you watch the entire devotional from beginning to end, you'll notice that there are lots of parts throughout where the choir is singing, where there's all these technical glitches. And suddenly it speeds up and it's going in super fast motion, and then it slows down, and then the screen goes blank, and then you can't hear anything, and it's choppy, and it's just doing this all throughout. But then when the prophet comes on and when the leaders come on, suddenly it's working smooth again. So you can actually see it happening. It's like the battle of good versus evil. It's happening live right there on the broadcast. You can see it happening. The adversary trying to interfere with the technology, and it's jumbled and it's going crazy, and you start to panic thinking, oh no, I'm not going to be able to hear the speakers because this is what's showing up on the screen. But then as soon as the speakers come on, suddenly it's fine. And so you can just see, it's like the power of the adversary at play, but then the power of the Lord comes in, and he takes control, right? The Lord is always in control. And so I just thought that was pretty interesting that here they are talking about the opposition they faced at General Conference just a couple weeks ago that none of us had any idea about. And then here it is happening at this devotional where Sister Nelson is coming to tell us about this opposition, and she's experiencing it again. They all are. So they weren't able to get to their destination, but they were still able to be a part of the broadcast and give their messages. And it just seemed like throughout their talks, there were moments where they were tripping over their words a lot, especially President Nelson, and it made me wonder if, again, that was a technological thing, if maybe the words weren't showing up on the prompter or something was going on, but you could just see a lot of tripping over words, and again, it just seemed like the adversary was trying to interfere with that communication. He doesn't want that truth to come out. He doesn't want that truth to be received by us, you know. It reminded me of that time. What was it, like 5 years ago, when I put out I did like a 3-part video series on exposing that whole world of energy work and all of that, and all of these things that I had witnessed, right? And it was a really big topic. It was a really sort of controversial video because there were a lot of people that were on the fence about it. There were a lot of people who were really passionate about that topic and were sort of offended that I would say that those things were of the adversary, that was kind of something that was kind of darkness, you know, that we should really steer clear of that. And I shared a lot of experiences that were really eye-opening. And I remember I just felt such an urgency to share that message and to get that video out. And I remember, if any of you remember, something happened and my entire computer experienced a bug. It's never happened before. It's never happened since. I have a Mac and this has never happened. And right when I started to edit the video, all of a sudden these black lines went all over my screen. It kind of reminded me of like ivy growing up a wall, like all these black ivy looking lines went all over my screen, and it was like they were moving and growing, and they covered up all the images on my editing software, and I couldn't edit my video. And then everything started to freeze. My face froze, the images froze, and then they would speed up and I would be talking really fast and then it would slow down, and then pictures were just jumping all over the place. And it really felt like the adversary was attacking my computer because he didn't want me to expose what I was about to expose and share those experiences. And I remember it took, I think, a whole week. I took the computer into the store, and the people over at the Apple store couldn't figure it out. They didn't understand what was happening. They'd never seen that before. In fact, the guy got out his phone and he was recording what he was seeing happening on the screen so he could have it for later, because he's like, I've never seen anything like this, and I've done this for years. So I remember I was just kind of open with him about it, and I said, well, I'm making a video and it's about something really important, and so I feel like, I said, I don't know your beliefs. I don't know if you believe in God. And he's like, no, I do. And I said, well, I really believe the adversary is trying to interfere with this video message, but I have faith because I felt really prompted to make this video. So I feel like it's going to be fine. It's going to work out. And I remember my friends joined in and we fasted. We fasted for a whole day. I think this was on the end of the 3rd day. So again, I always talk about 3rd day power in the 11th hour. Miracles always happen on the 3rd day. I think the first couple of days I had been praying and just hoping, and they just couldn't figure it out. And then we finally fasted. And when we fasted, by the end of the day, I think it was about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, I got a phone call from the Apple store, and suddenly it was fixed. They were able to restore all of my videos, and the thing is this too, there were problems on my phone. So even though he was saying, I remember he's like, you know what, we can just start all over and delete all of this out of your program and just upload, resend the videos and images from your phone back to your computer and just start from scratch. But he couldn't even do that. It wouldn't even let him. Like there was something that happened to my videos and images to where they were corrupted on my phone and on my computer. It was crazy. And it was 6 hours worth of video, and it was a lot. So I just was like, no, this has to work. And I remember we got our miracle. It ended up getting all fixed, and I was able to have those videos uploaded by that night on YouTube, and the message went out, and it changed a lot of lives. But I remember thinking in that moment, what is it about this message that Satan doesn't want people to hear? That right there just confirms that this is truth, that there is truth to this, because he worked so hard to stop it from happening. So my mind went back to that experience in my past when I was listening to Sister Nelson talk about all the opposition they were facing for General Conference, and then also clearly for this devotional. So knowing that really makes you want to tune in and listen to what it is they're talking about in their messages. So Sister Nelson talked all about the sacrifice that the leaders put forth to bring us truth, which tells you how important that truth is. She talked about the adversary working just as hard to prevent that truth from being told. But then she also talked about how We really need to start getting excited about what our leaders tell us, about what the prophet tells us, because going forward, there's just going to be more opposition. And it's going to be really easy to just kind of fall back and say, you know what, I don't want to be a part of that. I'm out. And so she's preparing us for that. She's saying, start putting those exclamation points right now behind everything the prophet says. And she reminded us again of his words from this last conference. So I think we all need to go back, even for a fifth, a sixth, a seventh, and eighth time, and re-listen to all of those messages, but especially those of President Nelson's. So then President Nelson gets on and he delivers an amazing talk. In fact, I'm just going to show you some points right here. So let's go here. We'll transition back over to here. And I'm just going to go right over here to, he talked about these 6 steps that we can do to progress from being members of the Lord's church to becoming true disciples of Jesus Christ. So, in fact, you know what? I want to before we read that, let me set up the scene for this. So, let me just say this. Elder Renlund's talk he spoke before Sister Nelson. It was amazing. Same with his wife. So if you have a chance to listen to them also, it's totally worth it. He talked about the Amazon River, and he gave this analogy of, I can't remember the name of it, but he said there's this phenomenon that occurs every year in the Amazon River. And when the moon and the stars and everything are aligned in a certain way, it creates this tsunami where this giant sort of tidal wave, like a tidal wave, goes against the flow of the river and goes for quite a ways up the river, this tall, towering tidal wave, and it works against those forces. And so as he was talking about this, I just sort of heard in my mind, overcoming the natural man. So he was talking about working against what doesn't come natural or what doesn't feel natural, pushing forward anyways. So things that are hard to do, maybe like sacrifices that are hard to do, things that are hard to give up, right? So that we can live that higher way. I forget the exact words that he used, but he was basically saying we need to come up higher. We need to live a higher way, which is what we heard at conference. We need to live that higher law. We need to be prepared to meet the Savior when he comes. And I feel that's probably the best way to sum up all of General Conference. If you had to just sum it up in one sentence or message, I would say it was that we need to be prepared to meet the Savior when he comes. We're just not there yet. We have so much work to do, right? And our prophet's trying to tell us, you guys, this is really soon. Like this is it. And so when Sister Nelson showed that screenshot where somebody said it feels like after listening to General Conference that the prophet was telling us it's time to board the ark, I don't think Sister Nelson would have showed that if there wasn't some truth to that. And so it was her way of saying it without saying it, that now is the time we're boarding the ark. The things that our prophets are telling us, our prophet and our leaders, they're telling us that things are about to happen. The righteous are coming together. The Lord's about to preserve them to meet him when he returns. And so we're getting on that ark right now. That's what we're doing. We're walking up the little boardwalk onto the ark. And within just a few days, that door is going to close and the rains are going to come. Just, to put it in an analogy, right? So she shared that screenshot that, it's as though President Nelson is telling us it's time to board the ark. And that's exactly what he's telling us. And so I just love Sister Nelson. I feel like she has this gift, this talent for talking about things that, how do you word this? She's really good at talking about things that you're really not supposed to talk about or that are more kind of confidential, I guess. But she has a way of putting it out there anyways without saying too much. And she's done it many times. And I love that about her because she puts it out there for us to go ponder. She's letting us know, look, these things are happening. Or, here's a topic. Have you ever thought about this before or considered that? Now go ponder that, right? And she's given us many really delicious breadcrumbs in the past. So I love that about her. Anyway, so that's what I took, again, from these messages, is that President Nelson is really trying to tell us that he knows things are about to get really hard in the world, and we need to be ready. We need to be ready for the Lord. We need to be a covenant-keeping people. We need to really up our time in the temple. We need that power. He talks about it again. So, real quick, Elder Renlund, he said one more thing that stood out to me. I think this is what he said. He said, a lot of times when we hear, thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain, we limit that to just meaning, you're not supposed to use the Lord's name in an offensive way, right? We're supposed to honor and revere his name. But he said, no, there's more to it. And I also used to take it a step further and say, well, I think it also means we shouldn't do things that the Lord would not be okay with, that would not be his will, and do those things in his name. Whether it's things we're asking for in our prayers, please bless this or that, which is something totally out of line with his will. And then we say, in the name of Jesus Christ, amen. And we're saying those things in his name. Or we're using his name to justify behaviors and actions, out in public with our friends and family, saying, well, I felt prompted to say that or do that, and we're doing that in his name, but it's not aligned with his will. So I always took it to also mean that, but he takes it a step further, and he says, taking the Lord's name in vain is thinking about the covenants that you take or you make at baptism. When you become a baptized member of the Lord's church, you represent him going forward. You wear his name, and you are a member of his church. You are one of his disciples. So you represent Jesus Christ. But are you doing that in vain? If your actions and everything that you're doing, everything that you stand for, sort of opposes the teachings of Christ, right, his doctrine, or you're just not doing anything at all, you're just going through the motions, right? Then you're representing his name in vain. And so he said, every time we take the sacrament, we really need to think about that. We really need to think about why we're taking the sacrament, what that really means to us, how important it is to us, and have those conversations with the Lord in that moment so we can develop that relationship with him. And that way we'll better represent his name because we know him. And everything we do it for him. He's our motivation. He's the reason we make the choices that we do. And so he was saying that's how we avoid taking the Lord's name in vain, is we live our covenants to the fullest. We embrace them, we understand them, we appreciate them, and we do our best every day to live them. And I believe that goes along with following the counsel of the prophet. Everything he counsels us to do, it's part of our covenant to heed that counsel because that's part of sustaining our leaders. So anyways, that's a conversation for a whole nother video. But I believe that was what was being emphasized at this devotional, was how important it is to follow the prophet because he's leading us on to the ark right now. And if you look outside, you don't see the rain falling. We're in a drought, so to speak, right? You would think it'd be crazy if someone were to tell you right now to board an ark because there's about to be a flood. You would think they were off their rocker. And so I think you can compare that to what's happening right now with our prophet and the things that, the messages that they're giving at conference, and just that emphasis on how the Lord's about to come soon. He's almost here, and we have so much to do. Things are going to get hard. There's going to be persecution, but we need to just hang on to that iron rod and cleave to our covenants, and we'll have that power to overcome and make it through. And so I think a lot of people, a lot of critics, and maybe people who have left the church sort of hear that and kind of laugh at it, or just kind of poke fun and say, they've said that for years. That's what the prophets always say. The Lord's coming soon, and the separation of the wheat and the tares, that's been happening forever. This is nothing new. Kind of just laughing at people who are really taking it to heart and pondering it and following that counsel, And it's no different than the people in the days of Noah, when they mocked him and his family for building this ark and then boarding it, and then the rains came. And so I feel like it's no different than that. If we are following the counsel of our leaders, if we're following the counsel of our prophet, we're not going to be caught off guard when the rains come. We're going to be ready because we're going to be on the ark. So anyways, I loved that. So now let's transition back over to his talk. So he gave 6 steps to help Latter-day Saints progress from being members of the Lord's Church to becoming true disciples of Christ. Sort of like what Elder Renlund was talking about. You're going from just being the type of member who shows up on Sundays to take the sacrament, but you really don't know why you're there. You're just going through the motions. So he's trying to transition us from that to becoming true disciples of Jesus Christ so that we're not taking upon his name in vain. So the first step he gave was increase your capacity to receive revelation. He said, he gave some tips, and he said, when the Lord knows that you're eager to communicate with him, he will teach you how to hear him. I absolutely loved that. So he's telling us, you've got to do more to be able to receive revelation. We're not doing enough. He's trying to tell us there's more we can do. We can receive it more often. Number 2, fill your life with truth. The world is filled with much information that is neither useful nor true. I plead with you to be discerning about how and where you seek truth. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute with some of my screenshots. This all ties in to what I've been thinking and feeling lately. And then he said at the very bottom here, understanding divine law is important because when we obtain any blessing from God, it is by obedience to that law upon which it is predicated. So he even gives a scripture for us to study. So we have got to understand the divine laws. We have to understand them because that's how we get those blessings. So fill your life with truth. Quit watching things and wasting time on books and videos and podcasts and influencers, right, who are not giving you truth. We don't have time for that. It really is a waste of time. The Lord can be doing so much more with us if we're willing to open up and receive that revelation from him and give him our time. All right, so number 3, refuse to let opposition to truth weaken your testimony. So he's letting us know there is more opposition coming. We're just getting started. General Conference was probably the appetizer, right? That was the appetizer. That was the beginning of all of this crazy opposition that the church is experiencing as we move forward into, I guess you could just say, into the return of the Lord. And it really sounded like, if they experienced opposition to that intensity for General Conference, what's going to happen going forward, right? So he's telling us, look, this is going to happen. It's inevitable. We've heard this message at previous General Conferences that persecution is coming. So he says, refuse to let opposition to truth weaken your testimony. So as this increases, and you hear all the naysayers and the critics of the church putting it down, trying to destroy your testimony, use that as an opportunity to strengthen your testimony. And here's why. Here's what came to mind for me. Just like I shared with that experience with putting out my YouTube video, wherever there is truth, you will see opposition. Let that be a testimony and a witness to you that that is truth when there is so much opposition surrounding it. Because if it weren't true, there wouldn't be such an effort from the adversary to destroy it or attack it. He would just let it go. So when you see so many people pointing fingers and shouting and tearing down, criticizing, just know it's because that thing they're attacking is true. That is truth. And the adversary knows it. So let that actually strengthen your testimony rather than weaken it. So he said, let's see. He talks about discernment. He said, our Father and his beloved Son would not have sent you to earth now if they had not known that you had the strength, wisdom, and insight to be able to discern what is right and what is not. And remember in that blessing that he gave everybody at the last General Conference, he gave that, I probably won't be able to say that word right now, apostolic blessing. In that blessing, he blessed us to know the difference between truth and error, to have that discernment. So again, that's something he's really emphasizing is we need to be able to make that discernment. That is crucial. Okay, number 4, serve and worship in the temple as much as you can. Now, I remember in a video I did, I think in August, I talked about while I was in Germany, this alert popped up on my phone. I thought it was from Twitter or Instagram, and it was President Nelson, and I read it to my family in the car while we were driving on the Autobahn to church. I was like, you guys, I have this little message from President Nelson. Let's read it on the way to church. And it was all about him saying that we need to increase our time more than ever and spend it in the temple. We need to like triple our efforts. And what I was reading, he said in there, I know we've asked you to increase your time in the temple, but now we need to increase it even more. That's what I read to my family. And then when I went to go back and find it, to this day, I have never been able to find it. A lot of people have sent me links and videos and things from around that time that could have been what that was. I read through all of it. I've listened to all of it. It is not what I read. And so somebody finally said to me, maybe that was one of those moments where that was meant just for you and your family. And that's why you saw it when you needed to see it, you talked about it, and then you've never seen it since, and nobody can find it. And I remember when I read it, it was new. It wasn't like they were quoting him from something from a long time ago. It was as though he was on his Instagram page that day saying that. So I was so excited. I said to the kids, you guys, wow, we really have to get to the temple even more. This is amazing. This means so much. So here he was saying that. Serve and worship in the temple as much as you can. Recently, it says in this is a news article summing up his points. It says, recently, President Nelson's daughter asked him which of the many advancements over his lifetime had been most significant. He responded that it is the Lord's generosity in making his temples available for his children. So he's letting us know right there, that is the most awesome thing that has happened on the earth as far as advancements. I mean, he's lived for almost a century. Out of everything you could talk about, the internet, technology, the one thing that he thought was the most significant was the increase of temples on the earth. And so that tells you right there, that should be our priority right now, is spending time in the temple, doing the work for our ancestors, but also revisiting our covenants. And he's talked about time and time again recently in this talk, in conference, that every time we leave the temple, we are endowed with additional power to get us through that week, to get us through that day. So the more we go back, say we go 2 or 3 times in a week, just imagine how much power you will be blessed with to help you face all of the opposition. Because as we the more good that happens on the earth leading up to the Lord's return, the more efforts we make to build the Lord's kingdom, the more the adversary tries to counter that. So as we increase our efforts, he's definitely going to be increasing his. And so we have to be ready for that. And spending more time in the temple is definitely how we can do that. Okay, so number 5, realize just how vital you are to the gathering of Israel. Okay, I want to say right there, you guys, we went to the temple last night, me and my husband and my kids, and we experienced a lot of opposition right before we got to the temple. It was crazy. I didn't even think about it till just right now. But my daughter got sick on the way there, and she didn't know if she'd be able to come into the temple, and we were worried that maybe we should just cancel and do it another time. But she wanted to. She's like, nope, I want to go in. And then once we left, she felt really sick, and she stayed home today because she's not feeling well. So she got sick. We were doing family names, like very close family members on my husband's side of the family that we discovered while we were in Germany. So we're talking like great aunts and uncles and cousins, people that we learned about that are just a couple, like a generation or 2 away from us. We were able to get all their information and put those records in. And so we had all these names to take to the temple from Manuel's family. And we felt like that was really important. And suddenly the printer wouldn't work and we couldn't print the names. And then suddenly we got the printer to work, but then suddenly it was telling us we couldn't print the ordinances because we didn't have permission. We needed permission. But we didn't need permission on some of the other names. It just wasn't making sense. So we were having obstacle after obstacle. And then on the way there, as we were cutting the names with the scissors and, cutting the cards out. My scissors slipped and I cut right through the cards and cut them in half, and the pieces went all over the car, and it was dark because it was 8:30 at night, and I was trying to find the pieces to the torn cards all over my husband's car, and we just had so much opposition. I could just go on, and when we got there, it just felt like, should we even be here? Like we were not in the best of moods because we had experienced so much opposition. We felt really exhausted and just sort of down in the dumps. But then, of course, when we got in there and we changed into our white clothing, all of that went away, and we remembered why we were there, and we felt the importance of what we were doing, and we felt so grateful for being there, and all these wonderful things happened. So I see how much the adversary is going to try to keep us away from the temple right now, more than he ever has before, because we are gathering Israel, and there's power in that. So he said, the Lord is hastening his work and urging us to prepare for his second coming. Meanwhile, our charge is to prepare a people ready to receive the Lord. So again, it's President Nelson's greatest charge to prepare the members of the church to be ready for when the Lord returns. And he showed us that video at General Conference, showing where the people were when the Lord returned. After all the destruction, after the earthquakes, after the darkness, the Lord appeared to them at his temple. And I don't think it's a coincidence that he's building temples all over the earth right now at an increasing rate. They've pretty much doubled with all the temples that are announced and under construction. And I think it's because they need to be close to everyone in location, close enough that we could walk there. Even if it took us an hour to walk there, we could walk there. We would be in close enough a proximity to a temple that we could go there, and we could be ready to meet the Lord. So I just think that is so significant, that is the message President Nelson has been trying to give to us at conference and at this devotional. And the adversary is continually trying to interfere with that message. He doesn't want people to realize that the Lord is coming soon. He doesn't want people to realize the importance of spending more time in the temple, and having those experiences in the temple, and receiving that power that counters what he's doing. He doesn't want us to know that. He doesn't want us to be a part of that. And so it makes sense. So anyways, he says, will you pray about the simple things that you can do to help gather scattered Israel? I love how he uses the word simple, because I think a lot of times we complicate it, we overcomplicate it, and we say, oh, I need to serve a mission, or I didn't serve a mission, so I missed my chance, or you have to be really good at family history to be able to gather Israel, or you have to be a people person, and I'm shy, I'm an introvert, I can't go out and just gather Israel. But he's letting us know, if you pray about it, the Lord will show you simple things you can do every day to help gather scattered Israel. And he said, anytime you do anything to help someone find or stay on the covenant path, you are helping to gather Israel. So I'd like to say, I'm sharing this video with you today is a way to gather Israel. You just never know who's going to find this video and how it's going to inspire them. So anything you can do, anything you can share, anything you can say to someone that brings them to Christ, you are gathering Israel. All right, so the last step that he gave us, step number 6, he said, expect joy. I love that. He said, this is kind of funny. He said, this is a summary, so it doesn't show everything. You'll have to go watch his talk in its entirety. He talks about Father Lehi. At least that's what I remember, and just some of the trials that he went through. And he definitely taught his sons, men are that they might have joy, but he didn't always experience joy. But he says, a loving father designed this mortal probation so that despite the challenges, his children could experience joy. If my 98 years of life have taught me anything, it is that true joy comes by living in harmony with the teachings of Jesus Christ. I have never met any who were happier because they broke their covenants with God. Wickedness does not and cannot lead to happiness. All right, so I'm going to go back over here, and I'm just going to transition from there. So when I was listening to him talk about that he's never met anybody who's broken their covenants, truly be happy. They weren't happier for doing so. And it made me think of some YouTube channels and Instagrammers of people who have left the church and who are very critical about it. And so their whole focus and purpose of their YouTube channel, their podcast, or their Instagram page is to attack the church and its doctrine and its leaders and its members, and it's what they do day in and day out. And I notice, because they pop up all the time in my feed, probably because they use hashtags LDS, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So they pop up in my feed, and when I just see a few seconds of them here and there as they start playing, I always notice that these individuals who are criticizing and trying to tear down God's kingdom, they do not seem genuinely happy. They don't seem at peace. You really get this feeling that they have a chip on their shoulder. They're upset, they're offended, they're hurt, they're just really angry. And there just doesn't seem to be any peace or joy, or, watching their videos in no way makes your life better or edifies you. It's definitely not uplifting. And I just, right before I came on here today to do this live video, there was a thumbnail that popped up on YouTube of one of these channels, and on the little thumbnail it showed a girl covering her face and she was crying, and it showed these two other YouTubers who have left the church. They're anti, and they were kind of pointing at her, and the title of the thumbnail and just the way they were appearing on the thumbnail was basically saying, here was this poor girl who was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who really didn't know her church history. So we enlightened her on her own church history, and once we told her the truth about the church that she's a part of, she was devastated, and it tore her and broke her testimony, and now we've saved her because of this. And so in the video, they look angry and sort of like, what's the word? Just not at peace. And she's sitting here crying, and that's the vibe you get when you look at the YouTube thumbnail. And then right next to that is a thumbnail of President Nelson at General Conference, and he has a sparkle in his eye, and he looks so happy, and the title for that is filled with joy. It's edifying. There's light coming from it, and it's a no-brainer. Would you rather watch this and fill your mind with this, or would you rather fill your mind with truth and things that uplift and build your testimony? So I believe that's what President Nelson was trying to tell us, is we just need to spend more time strengthening our testimony, spending time in the temple, receiving revelation, increasing our capacity to do that, and experiencing joy. All of these things bring us closer to Christ and help us become a people who will be ready to receive him, a people who don't take his name in vain. We live up to the name that we represent. Yes, I'm feeling it. That's the takeaway I got from all of this. So let me see at this point if anybody had any comments or wanted to. Let's see. Yes, Liz, I just finished listening to her talk as well as President Nelson's earlier today. Amazing. I'm so wanting to know what the opposition has been for conference and for this devotional. Absolutely. So someday we'll find out, right? Okay, well, let's go into some of these screenshots that tie into this. And any minute, my children should come walking through the door. So I'll do my best to kind of speed things up. Here's where I'm still learning how to use this program. Let's start with, let's go to the sky right here. Oh, I think I figured it out. Oh, I think somebody's coming up the stairs. I think my son is home. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, let me go back to the sky. Let's see here. I guess I just need to figure out how to show these images in order. I'm clicking on image number 1, and it is not. Let's try this. Maybe I can do this. Transition. Nope, it's not gonna work. So here's what we'll do then. My goodness, you guys. I will definitely have this figured out for next time. Oh, goodness. There we go. Maybe I can do it. Here it is. Okay. So I don't know if this is showing up okay on the screen or not. I apologize that it's showing all of my images at once. I just wanted to be able to click on one and have that pop up. But when I open my folder of images, they're all showing up at the same time. So I'm sorry if it looks a little chaotic on the screen. But let's just start here. Let's see. Actually, let's start with this one. Is that going to let me do it? Maybe I just need to drag it out. Yay! Okay. Okay. Well, anyways, I absolutely loved this. So this popped up yesterday on a news website. I think it was the BBC News. I believe it's called The Pillars of Creation. And the next screenshot talks more about it. But the minute I saw this was recently caught it's on my other screenshot. I forget the name of the telescope that caught this. But anyways, it looks like God's hand. And when I read those scriptures that talk about God's hand over the earth, there was even some scriptures in Isaiah recently where it talked about the Lord's hand coming down. I just saw that. And where this is called the Pillars of Creation, I thought of just the Lord's hand and how he's the creator. And I just thought this was remarkable. So I'm going to try to transition to the next image. Let's see if it will let you see that one right here. Maybe. Let me put this one back. Anyways. Oh, goodness. Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay, well, anyways, it's basically just clouds of hydrogen and gas and dust, but I thought it was pretty cool. It was just recently caught, and for some reason, I'm not able to drag over that image. Maybe this will work. Let's try this. There we go. Okay, I just wish it was the only thing you could see on my screen right now. Anyways, this just basically says, the M16's pillars are being illuminated and sculpted by the intense ultraviolet light from massive nearby stars. The radiation is also dismantling the towers. Let's see, right here, the Hubble and Webb. The new telescope's infrared detectors can see past more of the pillar's dust. Anyways, so there's just different angles and different photographs you can see of it, but each time I still see a hand, and I just think it's amazing. So let me know what you guys see. Let me know how you feel when you look at those images, but I don't think it's a coincidence that we're starting to be able to see these things in the skies and the heavens that I feel like testify of God, and that he really is in control. He has the earth in the palm of his hands. Okay, so moving on. Let's see now. We can transition this one. Maybe. I just wish you could just see one image at a time. Oh my goodness, you guys. Okay, here it is. So my friend sent me these screenshots, and it was pretty recent. So it's this meteor shower called the Draconids. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it was just recently this month, and the screenshot says, the Draconids don't usually produce a lot of fireballs, but it's fun to hold out hope for such sensations since the shower's name comes from the constellation Draco, the fire-breathing dragon. Draconids will appear to radiate outward in all directions from a point in the night sky near Draco. Okay, so I have more to share about that. So she was basically trying to say, think about what month it is right now. It's October. What does October represent, especially October 31st? Isn't it interesting that this is the month where there's a meteor shower in the constellation of the dragon? Like, it is the dragon's month. And then those scriptures from Revelation come to mind about the dragon. I don't know, I don't think it's a coincidence. So there's more to this. Let's go to the screenshot right here. So it says, The Perseids in August might be the most famous annual meteor shower, but October is a sleepier season for shooting star shows that just might produce more total meteors on balance over the full month. Major meteor showers like the Orionids and the Taurids are active later in October, but first come the unpredictable Draconids, which are set to peak this Saturday evening. The Draconids are noteworthy for a few reasons. For instance, for one, they are best observed at night as the night falls in the evening versus just before the dawn, which is the prime meteor spotting hour for most other showers. So my friend pointed out, isn't that interesting that for all the other meteor showers, you can see them best right before the dawn, but with this dragon meteor shower, you can see it best when night falls in the evening when it's dark. Second, the draconids, also sometimes called, I'm not going to even attempt that word, they aren't considered a major meteor shower by the International Meteor Organization. Typically, you'll be lucky to see 5 of them per hour, but they have been known to produce unexpected outbursts. So that stood out to her. Unexpected outbursts. That absolutely sounds like a characteristic of the adversary, right? It just says unexpected outbursts of hyperactivity called meteor storms. These flurries of shooting stars have treated watchers to as many as 600 meteors per hour as recently in 2018. Okay, so there's a little bit more. Let's see if I can rearrange this. Let's see. Let's try that. Okay. Oh, there it is. There's 2 of them on the screen. So this right here, let's see, tonight's rise of the Hunter's Moon over the Gateway Grand in Ocean City. So she was just talking about the Hunter's Moon, and that's around the time when we had this meteor shower. And there was so much that she had to say about that. I almost feel like I should maybe talk about that in a separate video. Sometimes we think about the word hunter and we think of missionary work, how it was prophesied in the last days that instead of being fishermen, we would be more like hunters, going into the rocks and the holes of the earth, trying to find the lost sheep, right? And so that's what sometimes comes to mind when you think of the word hunter. But she had another way of looking at it in connection to the adversary, and I might just have to save that for another video, but it was super fascinating. And so this took place around the time of this moon right here, and in the month of October. Let's see. And then, all right, let's see if I can transition. Let's see. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, here it is. The Draconid meteor shower peaks this weekend under the Hunter's Moon. Okay, so we actually just talked about that. So let's move on to this constellation right here. So here is, let's see, and it's gone. Well, anyways, as I'm trying to find this image, this is not an easy program to use. That's probably why it's free. My friend was talking about how it's interesting that this dragon constellation isn't even a part of the 12 constellations that you have associated with each of the months. It's not a part of those, and so isn't that funny? It's probably because the 12 constellations all testify of Jesus Christ. They sort of tell his story. And so this dragon doesn't have, it's not assigned to its own month. It's not a part of the 12 constellations, but it was just interesting that the meteor shower falls in this constellation in the month of October. So anyways, that just didn't seem to be a coincidence. So, there's a lot more to ponder about that. But if you guys have any comments, I'd love to hear it. I did have some other things I wanted to share about this month. So, okay, let's move on. All right. So natural disasters, I wanted to talk about some things. Let me go back. Okay, here we go. Alrighty, so, nope. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so, let's see if it will let me. Okay, here we go. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and talk about these screenshots. So I don't know if you can see this one right here. Okay, off to the right. So this happened yesterday here in Layton where I live. There was an F-35 that crashed at Hill Air Force Base. Out of all the years that I've lived here, I have never seen a fighter jet or heard of a fighter jet crashing here in Layton, especially at Hill Air Force Base. This really stood out to me. And I didn't notice when it happened, but I heard about it shortly after. But these are images that people took of this giant pillar of smoke coming out of the base. And it was just interesting because in addition to this, that same day, I heard that there were a couple more suicides where we live up this way. There was a suicide at Syracuse High School and a suicide at Northridge High School, which is in Layton. And it just had me thinking, you know, we have a temple being built right now in both of those areas. We have a temple in Syracuse and a temple in East Layton. And Northridge High School is in East Layton, and Syracuse High is clearly out west in Syracuse. And so I just could feel this opposition from the adversary that he is really focusing on these areas where these temples are going up because he knows what that means. He knows that there is going to be more power working against him when these temples are built and when they're operating. They just bring more light to the earth, especially in these areas. And it feels like he's really trying to work overtime. He's really trying to have an influence in these areas where these temples are being built. And it just feels like there's been a suicide epidemic lately where we live at all the different high schools around here. But when I heard that there were two on the same day, one in Syracuse, one in Layton, it just had me thinking of those temples that are being built right now. And the Layton temple will be finished pretty soon. I know it's any time by the end of this year and the beginning of next year, so pretty soon. And it just feels like the adversary is really ramping up his efforts to be the destroyer, right? Do what he does best. So when I saw this image of this fighter jet, the other thing that stood out to me, let's see if this image will show up. This really caught my attention. Let's see. I have them in order, but you know what? It's kind of just going to do its own thing, it looks like. So let's see if I can get that image on the screen. I just thought it was really interesting that there was a little part to the story that, let's see, my goodness. I don't even think it's going to let me. I think it deleted it actually. Oh, you guys. I someday will get this figured out. Anyways, I have a screenshot. It looks like I'm not going to be able to show it. It looks like I can't even adjust these images like I was just able to a minute ago. I don't know why. This is so strange, you guys. Anyways, let me move these around and see if I can find it. I think it might have accidentally just got deleted. It's gone. That's okay. Well, anyways, I had this image of, that's too bad actually. Looks like a lot of my images have disappeared. I don't know how that happens. They were just there a minute ago. They've been deleted. So anyways, it looks like it was a screenshot of, in fact, I could probably just pull it up on my phone and read it to you. So let me just transition back over here. There we go. Okay. I don't know if this was the better idea to try to show these images and videos live while I do my message. So anyways, I'm just going to go into my phone where I have this screenshot and read it to you. But it was just from Hill Air Force Base. They're doing an investigation, and I don't know if there's been any updates today, but here it is. Let's see, right here. It says, if any member of the public saw anything or finds anything that may be related to this crash, please call this number. Then it has my pay attention number on the screenshot. Anyways, it says, after reading that, it had me thinking, is there more to the crash than just an accident? Because when I first heard about it, excuse me, I think I need a drink. When I first heard about it, I thought that maybe it was just accidents happen, right? Like something failed with the jet and it crashed. But after reading this, and maybe this is just protocol for investigations, it sounded like there is a possibility that there could have been an outside factor involved in the crash of this plane or this jet. And so if anybody saw anything or found anything, please call this number and let them know. And it just had me thinking, when I heard the word attack and crash and I saw the smoke, it just had me thinking of the adversary and this area where I live, where it feels like some days it is under attack because we have temples going up and the adversary is not happy about that. And so I feel like that pillar of smoke just was symbolic of that. Like, you know what? He's on the attack right now. He is on the attack. It's not just leaders of the church. It's not just general conference. It's all the members, and especially members that are trying to do the work and that live in areas where these temples are going up. He's definitely heavily on the rampage in those areas. He's on the attack. So that's what came to mind when I saw that. I know that the pilot ejected and he was okay. He was taken to the hospital, but he was okay. He survived. But anyways, these other screenshots that I have, it looks like a couple of those got deleted. I wonder if I can quickly go in right now. I think I can, and try to find it again. So bear with me for just a second. But these are some images that I came across yesterday that just popped up. I wasn't even looking, and it had my pay attention numbers all over it. So I just wanted to show you guys. Let's see, here we go. Okay, so this one. Okay, let me just pull it up. I think I know right where to find it. Thanks for being patient and bearing with me, you guys. I think I'm going to spend some time in the next week understanding this program better so that you don't have to sit through these delays next time. Hopefully, again, you can just fast forward through this part if you're watching it later. Okay, so it's a picture of some mountain ranges. Here it is. Okay, so now I've got that. So let me transition it over. Okay, so this first one. Okay, so this first one right here, I hope the second one pulls up. Anyways, it just showed all these mountain ranges, and there, right there was my pay attention number 144, which symbolizes the gathering of Israel. Now these are all mountain ranges where there are volcanic activity and fault lines, and I thought it was really interesting that my pay attention number was gathered all over it. And it reminded me of that video I did, I think it might have been at the beginning of this year or the end of last year. It was all about volcanoes and how throughout history we can see how the Lord has used volcanoes to gather his people. In fact, I have a whole video, and I think that's the title of it. I will put a link to that video down in the video description after this if you want to go check it out. But it reminded me of how the Lord has used volcanoes to gather his people, and it's in more ways than you think. So you'll definitely want to check that video out. But there was that pay attention number. And then as I scrolled over, there it was again. Let me grab that screenshot. If it's gonna let me, you guys. My goodness. Oh, brother. Let's see here. Yeah, so there it is. So we have the Cascade. And there it is, Mount Rainier. There it is, 144. So they both have the exact same elevation, Mount Rainier and the Cascade Range, 14,411 feet. So pretty crazy. So there's my pay attention numbers, and these are in North America. We're on the North American continent, up along the Oregon coast and into Canada. So I thought that was interesting because I was just watching the devotional delivered to the saints of Canada, and then here again I was thinking about Canada and the gathering, and I know all throughout that devotional they talked about how Canada has been a place of gathering, and they shared this beautiful video. It's one of my favorite songs that the Tabernacle Choir sings, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing, and they showed all these images and quotes from past prophets and leaders who visited Canada and prophesied of the work they would do there and the gathering that would take place. And it was so beautiful. I absolutely loved it. So anyways, that popped up on my radar last night. And then I have a few more screenshots let's talk about real quick. Let me see if I can get rid of these ones. Okay. Let's see. Move this one around. Okay. That one. Maybe we've covered most of them. We might be good. Oh, here's one more. Okay. There we go. Oh my goodness. They're all in layers, and you have to remove the layers to show what's underneath them. Okay, let's transition to this one. Okay, so right here, this is a text I sent my friends, and I'm just going to read it. It says, I had my calendar marked for today, as it's the day of Sukkot. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's the day that Sukkot ends, and Shemini Atzeret begins. I'm sure I'm slaughtering that. Sure enough, there was a big 6.7 earthquake today off the coast of Central America. Sukkot celebrates the end of the harvest, and Shemini Atzeret is characterized as a day when the Jewish people tarries to spend an additional day with God at the end of Sukkot. It can also be translated as the closing festival or closing feast. Most of the ways it was celebrated involved service in the temple, so that really stood out to me, you guys. Apparently, its full purpose and understanding has sort of been lost, and theories remain of why it's celebrated. So we had this feast on this day, and I remember thinking, I wonder if something significant is going to happen today, because we have this sort of closing festival, and it's commemorated by spending time and service in the temple, and we've just been asked to increase our time in the temple. And we had just come out of the end of the I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but we had just come out of Sukkot, and I talked about this in my last video, and how what we were transitioning into that day was a time when the Jewish people wanted to tarry and spend more time with the Lord. And it reminded me of when the Lord visited the Nephites. And it talks about in those scriptures how they were sad to see him go. They just wanted him to tarry a little longer with them. And how they were at the temple. That's where they visited him, and he ministered to them at the temple. And so it just had me thinking that maybe that should be our attitude about the temple, instead of being in a hurry to get there. And once we're there, we're in a hurry to leave because we're so busy. We should look for more ways to go to the temple, but then while we're there, spend more time in the temple. And that we should want to tarry more with the Lord, right? So that's what I was thinking. And then, of course, that day, we have that big 6.7 earthquake right next to Central America, which it's been a long time since I've seen a magnitude of that size hit right in that area. So that stood out to me. And then I think we even had a big earthquake today, this morning. I'll probably talk about in a minute. I know I took a screenshot. So anyways, there just has been so much going on this week that I can't keep up with all of my screenshots. Here's one more screenshot I want to show you. So let's see if I can. Oh, I just lost it. My goodness, you guys. They don't make this easy. And it's gone. Where did it go? Oh, goodness. It just deleted. I don't understand this program, you guys. That makes me sad. All right, I'm going to see if I can pull it up one more time. I'm going to go into my downloads and find it there. See if it will let me pull it up. But yeah, this just really stood out to me, and I just wanted to share it with you because it was on the topic of earthquakes. Let's see. I think that's it right there. Oh, here comes the UPS man. I think he's going to ring the doorbell and my dog's going to bark. So hold on. That's what happens when you do a live video, right? Oh, good. He didn't ring the doorbell. Thank you, UPS man. Okay. All right. I've got the image, so let me transition it so you guys can see it. There it is. Okay. So I think I took this from Dutch Sense, and it says, it has been 14 days since the X-class solar flare. It took 2 to 3 days to arrive. Then another 3 days after that, we saw multiple M6s. Something else happened over the past 14 days. The dramatic lack of reporting on earthquakes worldwide. I did notice that. I'm like, I noticed an uptick on my app of all these 6.0 and higher earthquakes, but I don't hear anything about them in the news. So if I didn't have this app, I don't think I would even know they were happening. So anyways, I think, well, down at the bottom, he talks about warnings for a magnitude 7 to a magnitude 8 because of the solar activity on the sun. So I know there's a lot of talk about a connection between the solar flares and the activity on the earth, and so he's talking about that. But anyways, I just thought that was interesting that, 14 days after a solar flare, we had multiple magnitude 6.0 earthquakes. So you definitely can see this connection between things that are happening up in the sky, in the solar system, on the sun, with things that are happening on the earth, and it just seems to be increasing. Just definitely pay attention. I feel like there's something every day that I'm taking a screenshot of that's just catching my attention. And it's basically all just confirming what we already know and how we already feel, but it's just a reminder to keep moving forward and to just keep doing the Lord's work, right? Just keep staying strong and keep busy, keep honoring your covenants. Okay, so let's move on to the news real quick. Okay, so let's go to, looks like I have quite a few images in here. Okay, let's start with this one. You know what, I think it just wants to do its own thing, so we're just gonna go with what it wants to do. So anyways, so I will just share this out of order, it's fine. All right, so my dad called me early one morning a week ago, and he had just found my Halloween video for the first time. He'd never seen it before, he didn't really know about it, and he somehow came across it and he watched it, and he was really fascinated by everything that was shared in that video, and he just said it was a huge eye-opener for him, and he's decided he doesn't want to celebrate Halloween anymore after watching that video. I had no idea that he found it and he had watched it. So he had all these things he wanted to talk to me about. He was really excited. And he told me how he was laying there, it was like 4 a.m, and he couldn't sleep, and he just had this thought about when he was on his mission in Australia. And while he was on his mission, he said he and his companion were walking down the street, and they came across a street that was called Jack Mormon. That was the name of the street. And that stood out to them, and they thought, well, maybe, there's a bunch of, members of the church, which that nickname was given to them. They're called Jack Mormons, which basically means somebody who goes to church but doesn't really believe it or live it in their everyday life. So I guess you could say they're taking the Lord's name in vain, right? So he thought it was interesting that there was a neighborhood named that, and they wondered if a bunch of Jack Mormon type members had moved there and built homes there kind of to be together. They just thought it was interesting. You would see that in Australia. Well, anyways, as he was thinking about that experience, all of a sudden he thought about jack-o'-lanterns and the word Jack. And he thought, wow, if the term Jack Mormon means somebody who's pretending to be something they're not, what does that mean when you think about a jack-o'-lantern? You have this pumpkin, but it's really something that it's not. It's appearing to be something that it's not. It's appearing to be a cute, carved pumpkin with a candle inside that glows on your front porch, but it's really something more. And so that came to his mind, and so my dad said, I wonder where the term jack-o'-lantern comes from. So I said, well, while I'm on the phone, Dad, let me look it up. So I went to the Wikipedia, typed it in, and this is what it said. It said, well, first of all, it said the name comes from the reported phenomenon of strange lights flickering over peat bogs called will-o'-the-wisps, or jack-o'-lanterns. The name is also tied to the Irish legend of Stingy Jack, a drunkard who bargains with Satan and is doomed to roam the earth with only a hollowed turnip to light his way. So right when I read that, my dad said, well, I rest my case. He said, I don't think that was a coincidence that came into my mind at 4 a.m. to study out the word jack-o'-lantern and that word Jack, that meaning of being something that you're really not, or appearing as something that you're really not, right? So anyways, it's the month of October, and so I took a screenshot of that and thought I would share it in this video. I've had that topic come up a lot lately. A lot of people reaching out to me asking for my Halloween video, if I can send them the links, those Halloween memes that I've made before, the Be Clean of Halloween hashtag. And I've had a lot of people asking questions. I get this every October. People reach out to me and have lots of questions like, how do you do this? And how do you approach this with family or friends or your ward? And really, the other thing too, you guys, I guess I could add this. Let me transition back over. The other thing too that I've noticed is that, here we go, is that I've noticed this year, a lot of people who are reaching out to me are people who admitted that when my video first came out 5 years ago, they absolutely hated it. They thought I was nuts off my rocker, totally disagreed with it. It made them angry and offended, even though it was done with the best of intentions. But I knew it was a controversial topic, talking about why I chose to walk away from Halloween, which was one of my favorite, I don't even want to call it a holiday, but it was one of my favorite yearly traditions that I had done with my family for years. It was literally, I liked it almost or just as much as Christmas. So for me, at the time, it was a huge sacrifice to walk away from that. But later, it became easier. It didn't feel like a sacrifice anymore because I wanted nothing to do with it. But I realized that not everybody feels that way, and that's okay. And I think I felt prompted to make that video, realizing that the video would find whoever was sort of on that same path, or sort of on the fence about it and wasn't sure, that maybe they would find my video and something in there would be what they needed to hear. So I remember when I made the video, I didn't go around sharing it with my neighbors and my family. I kind of just kept it on the down low. And so that's why it took my dad 5 years to even know it existed. So that just tells you, right? But yeah, it's never been my intention to tell people what they should or shouldn't do and point fingers or be critical. I think the best way, and I've talked about this recently with friends who ask, what do you do? How do you go about navigating the month of October so that you don't step on toes or offend people? And it just reminds me of what I heard in General Conference about the Savior. I can't remember right now who said it, but they said, the Savior, his way was love. He loved people into wanting to change their lives. He loved them into that. He never forced anyone into wanting to follow him and live that higher way. He never did that by force. He never did it by guilt. He never tried to make people feel bad. He never embarrassed them or offended them. He always did it with love. And so I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like over the past few years, the choices that I make that might be different from everybody else, right? I just feel like if I'm happily living my life and making those choices, the fruits of those choices are my testimony. People take notice, and then if they come approach me and ask me about it, I'm happy to tell them all about it. But I just have not felt good about, making comments to people like, oh, you celebrate Halloween? Well, you might want to rethink that. I don't do that at all. I let people celebrate it, enjoy it, talk about it. I don't try to make it weird or awkward. Like I said, I was telling one of my friends, I go into people's yards that have all of their Halloween decorations out, and instead of commenting on their decorations, I comment on how nice it is to see them, right? I focus on them. And so I just don't think there's any benefit at all in putting people down or pointing out all of the negatives, like the things they're doing wrong or the things they shouldn't do or the choices they're making maybe aren't so good. I feel like it's always best to focus on the positive, and that way you can love people into, wanting to make changes. And love them regardless of whether they want to or not, right? That's what it's all about. It's just about that love. We're commanded to love everyone. That's our job, and it's the Lord's job to do everything else, to be their Redeemer. It's the job of the Spirit to teach them. Our job is to just love. We need to keep it more simple. I feel like we overcomplicate our job as members of the church and, trying to gather Israel. The best way we can do that is the way that Christ did it. And it's just simply to love. So anyways, I just wanted to share that with you guys. Okay, so I have a few more screenshots. Let me go right back over to where we were. Okay, so, okay, all right, let's go to this one right here. Okay, these are just all out of order, so I apologize, but anyways, this just popped up. I was just seeing my number everywhere that day, that number that reminds me of the gathering of Israel, 144. I see it all the time. And here it was on a video talking about, sorry, I've got two screenshots. So it looks like they're one screenshot. So ignore this one up here. Let me transition. There we go. So it's this one down here. I didn't watch it. It was a video about the YouTube channel Dutch Sense, who talks about all the earthquakes, but there was that number 144, pay attention. And then right after that, this other video pops up in the feed. And let me see if I can pull that up to the front of the screen. Oh, did it just disappear? No, there it is. Boy, they just don't make this easy at all, you guys. Oh my goodness. Oh, God. Okay, well, okay, I have quite a few. Oh, there it is. Let me pull this one down. Okay, transitioning, here we go. So here it is again, 144. This is what I wanted to talk about earlier when I was hearing all about truth, and President Nelson was saying, be more vigilant about where you're getting your information from, because a lot of us are just wasting our time taking in information that isn't doing us any good, and not only that, but it's not even true, and we're filling our mind with that. And so that's what I feel like this popped up in my feed. There was that pay attention number, so I feel like this is something that kind of interferes with the gathering, which is the most important thing we could be doing right now, right? It says, are we forced to come to earth, or do we all plan our lives? So at first I was like, oh, yeah, okay, so this is talking about the pre-earth life, right? Like, that's interesting. And then when I realized what it was, so, oh goodness, it was a lady talking about like past lives and, oh my gosh, everything new age, right? Like astral projection and leaving your body and having these journeys and experiences and angel guides and all of these things that are totally a distraction, totally a counter of the truth, but very easy for people to get sucked into because they get so fascinated by it and they start to wonder if it's true. And these people that do these videos are sharing their own personal experiences. So it makes it even more powerful, I think, and people just get pulled right in. So I know a lot of people who subscribe to this and it starts out just like, they're just curious and they just want to know what this is about. And then they watch more and more of these videos and read more of these books. And then they get pulled down that path into all of the energy work and new age. And then they completely leave the church every single time. And so that's what this reminded me of, is how easy it is. The adversary is so good at tricking people and deceiving them because he can give people real experiences, but those experiences are full of deception. But because they're real experiences, they're actually happening to people, they take it to be the truth. And so they share these experiences and people think, well, that must be true then. That must be what really happened before we were born. And that must be what happens after we die. And, everything this lady shared in her video, I didn't watch the whole video, but I got the gist of what it was. Everything she shared countered the need for a savior and the need for an atonement and the plan of salvation. Everything countered the doctrine of Christ, everything. And that right there, in fact, I'm feeling it right now, but that right there told me, pay attention, because this is one of the ways that the adversary is pulling people off the path and causing them to be distracted and not be able to discern truth. This is it right here. This is one of the ways he's doing that. And I'm seeing it more and more all the time. So that really stood out to me. I've got one more right here that popped up the same day. Let's see if I can get these other ones. Yeah, I'm not sure how to, I have to move all these other screenshots out of the way. I've got to delete them or slide them over so you can see what I'm trying to show you. There we go. Okay, here it is. this popped up right here. Hundreds of young trans people seeking help to return to their original sex. There's that number 144. And I keep seeing these videos pop up everywhere, you guys. And the one that I did watch, it was just a short news clip. It might have been this one. Talked about how they're seeing more and more, like an increasingly significant amount of people who have changed their, gone from a male to a female or a female to a male and had those surgeries or are taking those hormones. They're trying to go back and become what they originally were. That for some reason or another, once they go down that path and they have the surgery and start taking the hormones, something doesn't feel right. And at first they ignore it and they think, no, this is what will make me happy. I have to do this. I have to do it. But after so many years of going down that path, they realize they're not any happier than they were before. Not only are they not happier, but sometimes they feel worse off for doing it. They feel like they did something terribly wrong. They made some kind of a mistake. And there's a lot of lasting consequences because of that choice. And so these videos keep popping up. I've watched a couple of them. And they're just various people. Most of them seem to be women who transitioned into men who are now going back to being female. And they're just saying that because of those choices they made, the surgeries and the hormones, there are some long-lasting effects. And so in order to get rid of those effects, they have to have more surgeries. And even after having lots of surgeries, they still are never going to look fully like a female again. And so they're devastated because of that. And this one that I was watching yesterday for just a few minutes, it was a young German lady, and she was probably like in her early 20s, and she had become a man. I think she transitioned when she was 15, and that's really young. And she said, you know what, I finally just realized one day that I needed to be female. That's how I was born. That's who God made me to be. And why had I been deceived into thinking I would be happier being something I wasn't? And I went and I felt so driven to do that. I made that choice. I went down that road, did what I needed to do, lived that way for 10 plus years, and realized I'm no happier than I was back then. In fact, I feel even more depressed. I feel like I was lied to. I feel like I was guided to do this and kind of pushed into it, and it's not what I really wanted. Even though at the time I thought it was what I wanted, it wasn't. And now I feel it's the right thing to go back to what I originally was. And it's not an easy journey. It's expensive. It's a lot of surgeries. It's painful. And it's never going to be restored back to what I was in the beginning. Like, I'll never fully become that. Anyways, when she was saying that, it made me think of the resurrection. And it made me think of the Lord and how He is a restorer. And He is a redeemer, and He can redeem us and restore us. He will resurrect us, and we will have those perfect bodies again. We will be restored to perfection, and we're told we won't even have a hair on our head that is lost. Like, we will be whole. And so it made me think of this woman, and I just wished I could have told her that, in that video. I'm like, that's a Gathering Israel type of moment right there, when you can lead people to Christ, when you can lead them to truth. And I just wished I could have eased some of her sadness and said, you know what, you may have some setbacks as you try to go down this road and return to what you were before. But when the Lord returns, that's the power of his resurrection. He can restore us to wholeness. And so you can have that hope in Jesus Christ. I wished I could have reached out to her. Maybe I need to go back and try to find her. I think I can't remember if there were comments turned on or not on her channel. I'll have to go back and look. But anyways, there was that number 144. Pay attention. Again, I feel like this is another way that the adversary is deceiving people and distracting them, right? He's getting them to focus on this kind of identity, where President Nelson has told us at conference that our most important identity is that we are children of God, right? We are children of the covenant. That's our identity. It's not all these other titles that are temporal or that are earthly titles. Those things don't matter in eternity. But knowing an eternal truth such as you are a child of God, that will follow you forever. That is your identity. That is truth, and it will never change. And there was that number 144. Pay attention. the adversary is trying to confuse people with their identities with this deception, but it's also distracting people from the Lord, from his work, from gathering Israel, from truth. And so pay attention. So that just really stood out to me. Let's see. I just looked at the clock and realized I just have a few minutes. So I'm going to see. I think that might be it for things in the news. Oh, no, here's another one. Okay. This right here. There was my number again, 144, you guys. Right here, this news video that popped up. I promise you guys, like, it's just one after another. Like, I see this number constantly, and it's just like these little breadcrumbs. Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. This right here, it says many Russians are fleeing mobilization. And it shows a map, and it shows people coming out of Russia, and they're gathering into Europe, the UK, and to me, that's just confirming the gathering, confirming how the Lord can take the plans of the adversary, right, because he's the destroyer, but he can take his plans and turn it into something good. He can use everything that Putin's doing right now over in Russia and Ukraine and use that to gather his people and bring them in. So that right there, that image, I just was, whoa, I was feeling it, and I had to get a screenshot. There it is, and it's actually showing migration of people out of Russia over into Europe and the UK, over to the West, right? Which, if you keep going west, you get to the United States. You get to, I don't know, it just makes me think of gathering into Zion, gathering into the New Jerusalem. But of course, Zion stakes are everywhere. So I thought that was pretty awesome. Okay, so, oh, I've got another one right here. Let's transition to this one. This right here, a lot of people have heard of this channel. Hello Saints. This is, I think, let's see, I forget, is he a Presbyterian pastor? His whole channel is about exploring the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and learning everything he needs to know about it. So it's kind of his journey doing that. Anyways, this video popped up, and there was the number 11 everywhere. 11,000 likes, 11,000 comments, which reminds me of the 11th hour. And this again reminds me of the most important thing we could be doing right now in this 11th hour is gathering in Israel. And so anyways, I've watched a few of his videos, and I think it's pretty refreshing that he does try to approach what he learns about the church, with a positive attitude. And he's developed a lot of followers, especially members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who have grown to love his channel and are following him. One thing that did stand out to me, though, that my friends pointed out as well, is that he's had this channel for quite a while now. I think he's got like 16 plus videos or so. But he hasn't done the most important thing that you could do if you were really wanting to learn about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You would read the Book of Mormon. Like, that would be the first thing you would do, because everything in our doctrine is based around that book. And again, that book is just another testament of Jesus Christ. It's a testament of what's in the Bible. They totally complement each other, and it's amazing. In fact, that same day, I don't know why I don't have a screenshot of this. Oh, my kids are home. It's going to get crazy. A video popped up of a woman in Arkansas, and it was her conversion story of how she had always been told horrible things about the church because she lives in the Bible Belt. And she'd only known what she'd been told and just thought that, the church was just pure evil, completely deception or deceived, right? And it was just the members were not going to go to heaven and on and on. And one day she actually decided to read the Book of Mormon, and she was so blown away by what she read. She was so touched by the message of the Book of Mormon and the spirit that she felt, how it completely 100% testified of Jesus Christ over and over and over, and testified of everything that's in the Bible. And it was so beautiful to her that it softened her heart, and she felt converted right away. She met with the missionaries and she chose to get baptized. And because she got baptized, she lost a lot of friends, and she had a lot of family persecute her and lash out at her. because she had joined this church that she feels is true. But she said, she wouldn't trade it for anything, that she has found so much joy and happiness. And she said the one thing that influenced her to make that choice to read the Book of Mormon was the light that she saw in everybody's eyes. Everybody that she met in, I think it's Bentonville, is that what it's called? Bentonville, Arkansas. Everybody that she met who was a member of the church, friends that her children played with, people in the community, people at school, people in the neighborhood, they all glowed with this light. And she felt so much joy around them. And she thought to herself, what is it they have that I don't have? I want to know why they glow, why they're so happy and peaceful. She read the Book of Mormon and she's like, hey, I know why. I know why. And I want to be a part of this. I want this in my life. Anyways, I loved her video. And again, it's one thing to have a curiosity about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, right? Just based on what people say about it and what you've been told and things that you notice. But it's another thing to immerse yourself into it and actually read the Book of Mormon. And when you do, if you pray about it and you do it genuinely, right, with the right spirit, because you want to know if it is true, you will receive that witness. You will know, and it will change your life. And that's what she experienced. So anyways, it had me thinking about this pastor and his videos and how he's had this channel for quite a while. He puts out a lot of these videos and he's created quite the following, but he's never taken the time to actually read the Book of Mormon, so he doesn't have a testimony of it, And sometimes I wonder, I just from people that I know in my life who've kind of done similar things, sometimes I wonder if they're afraid to read the Book of Mormon because they're afraid that it actually might be true. You know what I mean? They're afraid that they might feel something, and it worries them because they've always been taught that it's wrong and that it's not true. So, sometimes I wonder if that's the case. But maybe one day he will read it and he will be touched by what he reads. But anyways, those numbers definitely stood out to me. Okay, so yep, we are good with that. So I'm going to move on now to leaders. Let's go on to this category here. I've named my my folders so that it's easier to organize my screenshots. Okay, so right here, where did it go? Leaders. Right here, I had all of Wendy Nelson's screenshots, so I'm going to move those out of the way because we kind of already talked about those. So let's move those out of the way. Okay, so leaders in the world. All right, this first screenshot, this just happened this morning. So I woke up, I noticed this big earthquake on my phone. It was, where was it? It was down by South America, Panama. It was right off the coast of Panama. So again, on this side of the continent, on the west side of the I guess that would be, South America, the South American continent. But there was another big earthquake. There was a tsunami warning. It started out as a 6.9, I think, and then they downgraded it, so it changed on my phone. Anyways, this stood out to me. So I get that alert on my phone early this morning. It's still kind of dark outside. And then I get this alert that says, 2 chancellors, 2 home secretaries, 1 prime minister gone. Liz Truss, 44 days of chaos. There was another screenshot or another alert that popped up before that just said the prime minister of the UK stepped down today and resigned. And I thought, wait a minute, isn't she brand new? I don't follow all the news over there, but I know she's brand new. And so there's that number 44, you guys. I see 44 all the time, usually because I see 144, but I also just see 44. My friends see it all the time too. And there it was, this prime minister who had just stepped down, and right before her, the prime minister before her also unexpectedly stepped down. And it just made me wonder, what is going on? Pay attention. Something is up. Something is going on. Why do these leaders keep stepping down? And as the screenshot says, 2 chancellors, 2 home secretaries, and 1 prime minister gone. Pay attention. Things are really shifting around over in the UK. I mean, not only with the prime ministers and all of that, but, we also had Queen Elizabeth pass away, and now we have King Charles, and there's just a lot of change happening over there right now, which is going to lead into something awesome in a minute. So keep that in mind. I'm really going to try to push through this. Okay, next. This is my last screenshot in my leaders folder. So let's transition. There we go. I noticed this, I think it was 2 weeks ago. It says, Pope Francis speaks out on health issues. So it was reported that he was spotted in a wheelchair. And so people questioned about it. And he commented and said, I don't think I can keep traveling with the same rhythm that I used to. I either need to save myself a little in order to continue serving the church, or I need to consider the possibility of stepping aside. So here we have the Pope talking about resigning or retiring, which the Pope before him also unexpectedly stepped down. And I remember hearing back then, there was a time when that just didn't happen. You served until you were physically unable to, until you passed away. Just like in our church, right? The prophet serves until he passes away. That's his mantle until he's no longer on the earth. I believe that's how it was with the Catholic Church until recently, and now the popes step down. Like unexpectedly, they can retire, step down, and then somebody else is voted in to take their place. So it just feels kind of interesting. Let me just transition back so you can see me. To me, it just it's gonna get crazy. Lots of kids are showing up at my house. Anyways, to me, it's just pay attention. You have all of these leaders kind of shifting around. Things are changing. And I think I talked about this recently in a video. It reminds me of a chessboard, how the players, the kings and the queens, the people of power, the leaders on the chessboard are strategically moving around and being put into place for the next play, the next battle, the next strategy, right? And it just feels like things are being set up right now for all of those end time prophecies. When you have major leaders like the Pope and the Queen and prime ministers that are being shifted around, that are resigning, retiring, stepping down, and it's continual, it just feels like something's happening, right? It's a lot to be a coincidence. It feels like the adversary is trying to develop a strategy, but at the same time, the Lord is putting things into place as well. And it just makes you wonder what is really around the corner. Who's coming onto the scene next that might be working for the adversary, that he might be giving power to, right? That would obviously be an adversary or a foe to the kingdom of God, right? So it just feels like we're going to see more things heating up and just, I don't know, basically it confirms everything that our leaders have been telling us. So that really stood out to me this week. Okay, I've got lots of kids in my house, so anything can happen. This is a live video, so let me hurry and wind this up, you guys. It's almost 4 o'clock. Okay, so my last one. Oh, I've got this here. Let's see, this right here. Let's see if I can. Let me blow this up and enlarge it. Oh, here it is. Okay, let me enlarge this. So a friend of mine shared this with me, and it just kind of goes along with everything. This is from, let's see, I guess I should tell you first what this is from. Here it is. Okay, this is from J. Golden Kimball. It's called The Gift of Prophecy, and he was the first council. He was of the first council of 70. This is the conference report of October 1930. And in here he said, let's see, he's talking about our day. Excuse me, I need a drink. Hold on. He says, my goodness, all kinds of religions will be started and miracles performed that will deceive the very elect, if such a thing were possible. And he goes on to talk about persecution comes next. All the Latter-day Saints will be tested to the limit. Many will apostatize, and others will stand still, not knowing what to do. Before the temple reaches the square, our brethren will be imprisoned until the penitentiary shall be full, and some of them will be removed to other penitentiaries. Mothers would weep for their husbands. Oh, it goes on and on, you guys. I'm not sure if you have read this before. I've seen it before. It's been years since I've looked over this. Let me try to blow up the next side of the page so I can read it with you guys. Let's see. Okay, maybe what I'll do is I will just read it from beginning real quick because that might be easier. Here it is. Okay, let's follow along. We can just read it together. It says, I intend to be reminiscent in what I shall say on this occasion. I have frequently called your attention to the fact that under President John Taylor, I was permitted to fill a mission in the Southern States in 1883 and 84 under the presidency of Elder B.H. Roberts. They were trying times, and the elders as a whole traveled without purse and without script. In 1892, I was again appointed under President Wilford Woodruff to preside over the Southern States mission. It was during that period of time that I found God. As my father said, God answers my prayers, and isn't that a pretty good evidence that God lives? My testimony was fixed and fast, and what I knew, I learned by obedience and through suffering. I take the position that knowledge cannot be knowledge without experience, so that what I know through the influence of the Holy Ghost, for I have heard that still small voice, I know to my perfect satisfaction. There is no question of a doubt in my mind as to the truth of this work. And any time in my life that I can be convinced that Joseph Smith was not a prophet of God, then I will question the truth of this work. But Joseph Smith to me is a prophet, and there is hardly a Kimball living in the flesh today of the first generation, notwithstanding we were very young when our father died, that did not have burned into his soul as a child that Joseph Smith was a prophet of the living God, that Brigham Young was his successor, that he too was a great prophet. Now it is along that line that I desire to occupy your time for a few minutes, and to do so I expect to forecast from dead prophets. I shall not undertake to quote from memory, as it is very difficult for me to quote correctly. The prophet Joel said, we elders in that day on many occasions quoted this prophetic saying, quote, and it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions. Let's see, let me move up. Where there are no gifts, there is no faith. I further read in the Bible, when a prophet speaks in the name of the Lord, if the thing follows not nor comes to pass, that is the thing which the Lord hath not spoken. But the prophet has spoken presumptuously, thou shalt not be afraid of him. Jesus himself testified that a prophet hath no honor in his own country. I claim not to be a prophet, but I am a son of a prophet. And I expect to give you evidence whether you question the truth of it or not. That shall be left with you, that Heber C. Kimball was a prophet of God. President Brigham Young on more than one occasion said, Heber is my prophet, and I love to hear him prophesy. In May 1868, that is 62 years ago, he said, after a while the Gentiles will gather in Salt Lake City by the thousands, and this will be among the wicked cities of the world. He said, a spirit of speculation and extravagance will take possession of the saints, and the results will be financial bondage. An army of elders will be sent to the four quarters of the earth to search out the righteous and warn the wicked of coming events. All kinds of religions will be started and miracles performed that will deceive the very elect, if such a thing were possible. Persecution comes next, and all Latter-day Saints will be tested to the limit. Many will apostatize, and others will stand still, not knowing what to do. Before the temple reaches the square, our brethren will be imprisoned until the penitentiary shall be full, and some of them will be removed to other penitentiaries. Okay, so I just have this page right here. Anyways, some of those things have already come to pass, and some of them are still ongoing. But the thing that stood out to me was the part that I had circled. So let me go back there. Or my friend had circled right here. All kinds of religions will be started, and miracles will be performed that will deceive the very elect, if there were such a thing if such a thing were possible. Okay, so let me go back so you can see me. Let's have a conversation. So this reminds me, I think this is really important too, because again, this is one of the ways I have seen the adversary pull people that I know who are strong, stalwart members of the church off of the covenant path, away from the church. Sometimes I think we just make that assumption. We have that, that image in our head that when somebody leaves the covenant path, they leave the church, they usually go down a dark path and they're angry, they become atheist, they just want to destroy the church, and they're hateful. That's the image we usually have in our mind. But we forget that there are also a lot of really good people who are deceived, who choose to leave, but they choose another path where they're still trying to find Christ and find truth and consider themselves still his disciples, right? And so they just find other churches. And I know people, I'm never going to say names in my videos, but I know people, I have friends, I know people who fall into that category, who are good people, who are not hateful or bitter, right? They are just trying to find truth. And so they still respect the church and its members. A lot of their family and friends are still members of the church, and they respect that, and they have no problem with that. They're not on a mission to destroy or deceive or pull people away. They just feel like there's more truth out there, and that's what they're seeking for. And they're finding other churches, Christian churches, right, who have these beliefs and practices, leaders. I don't think they call themselves prophets, but they go by other various names, who perform these huge miracles. They have YouTube channels. Some of them, they minister or pastor at these mega churches with thousands and thousands of members. They do these live, I don't know what to call it, like, not conventions. Well, I guess they do have conventions, but they have these, I don't even know what to call it. It kind of reminds me of back in the old days. You would call it like those episodes of Little House on the Prairie where these people would come into town and set up a tent and have this revival, and all these people would show up and they would start healing everybody, and suddenly the blind could see and the lame could walk, and how you learn in some of those episodes, a lot of it was deceptive, and it reminds me of that. But what they're seeing is these huge miracles. They're seeing things being done differently in these churches, and they're seeing people who are being healed in miraculous ways. They're seeing people using these, I guess I kind of want to do this, gifts, right? Where they're losing control of their body. They're what people call holy rollers. They're rolling around, supposedly immersed in the Spirit, speaking in different tongues, languages that aren't even of this earth, that no one can understand, what people would call like Babel. So they're seeing these manifestations, which they believe are manifestations of the Spirit, which they're being taught in these churches are manifestations of the Lord's true church. Because they say these are the things that happened at Pentecost. So when you find these signs, that's the Lord's true church. And then they say things like, I realized when I went to these churches that that's what Jesus did. He always went around healing everybody. So how come at our church we don't have people going up to the front at the end of sacrament being healed? Why are we not doing more healing and blessings? And why are we not getting up and shouting in tongues and, bringing down these miracles in our chapels on Sunday? Why are we just sitting there and we're following a set schedule and a program? We sing a hymn, we listen to a speaker, and then, same routine every week. Where in these other churches, there are no schedules, there's no agenda. They just let the Spirit take over, and a meeting could go for several hours. And I've had people even point out in the early years of the church, the same thing was happening. There would be these long, drawn-out meetings that would go on till sometimes 2 a.m, because people were just letting the Spirit guide the meeting, and it was just continual manifestations of the Spirit, people being healed, miracles, things like that. And they talk about, the church probably went apostate because they don't do that anymore. Now they stick to a schedule. They don't let the Spirit run the meeting. Where in these other churches, there is no order. There's no order. The Spirit just takes over. Things just happen. Anyone can shout out and go up to the front and heal someone, or start shouting in tongues, or amen, hallelujah. on and on and on, right? Continually singing and praising and all of that. And I remember way back then when this was happening with my friends thinking, I can see how that would be really exciting for people, saying, would I rather spend Sundays sitting on a bench trying to contain my family, right? Keep them quiet, listening to a speaker up at the pulpit and singing a song and then repeating it Sunday after Sunday? Or would I rather go to these other places and have this out-of-body experience where every Sunday it's never boring, it's entertaining, and you never know what's going to happen. There's no order to things. Nobody's really in charge. Everyone's a part of the experience. Everyone's an involved participant, and anything can happen, and people are healed, and people, I've heard all kinds of crazy things. I've heard of people levitating. I've heard of people being covered in gold dust or jewels appearing out of nowhere and landing on the floor, like rubies and diamonds and all of these like manifestations, and more people just showing up because they want to see this and be a part of it. And I can see how deceptive that would be. This is so exciting. It's so strange. It's so supernatural, right? And what people are missing is that in God's kingdom, there is order in all things. And the Spirit is a still, small voice. You hear the Spirit in those still, small, quiet moments, not with all the loud distractions and production, right? It can be really exciting, but I think a lot of times it's easy to confuse excitement and big, powerful emotions with the Spirit, where we forget that the Spirit is more simple than that. We hear it in small, quiet moments. And so that's what is referred to in the Christian world as sensationalism, when they over-sensationalize religious practices or worship or all of that. It's called sensationalism. And so anyways, I have a lot of friends who have been swept away into the sensationalism movements, and they have left the church because of that, because they say, well, in this church, my friends are all being healed. They're being healed of cancer. Their limbs are growing back. Like, these are miracles I can't explain. People are being freed from depression and all of these things. And that's not happening in my ward when I go to church on Sunday, right? So they're comparing that. And some days you look at that and you might think, how could you, what do you say to that? Like, how do you, I don't want to say compete with that. That's not the right word, but how do you counter that, right? And anyways, when I read this, it reminded me of that, and I haven't thought about that in a long time. I did a whole video on that. In fact, the video I talked about at the very beginning that I experienced all that opposition with, right, when I had that bug in my computer, in that video I talked about this. I talked about all of my friends who were leaving the church following this path. It's all in there. It's in that video, and the adversary did not want me sharing that video. It reminded me of that in the days that we live in right now, right before the Lord comes, all kinds of religions will be started and miracles performed that will deceive the very elect. Okay, so the people that I'm talking about who left the church to join these other churches were people who I would call the very elect. Stalwart people with incredible testimonies, incredible hearts, people who love. They just love people. They want to serve. Like the salt of the earth kind of people, right? People who were in stake callings, young women's and young men's presidents, right? People who just love to serve, love the Lord. I would consider them to be the very elect. Even they were pulled in that direction and left the covenant path, walked away from their covenants. And what people don't realize, they think just because I can see it and it's happening, it must be true. But right here, we read that, you know what? That's how good the adversary is he can deceive the very elect. He can show miracles. He can fix broken bones. He can, make somebody be able to see. He can do these things. He can show you what you want to see, but it's not lasting. And it's lacking everything that belongs to the Lord's true church. It's lacking the order, the hierarchy, the authority, the ordinances, the covenants. The temple, right? Just everything, the priesthood. And we forget that we have the priesthood power. we've been told by our prophet over and over again recently to call on that power, to utilize that power that we're endowed with in the temple to receive miracles that we need to start praying for and asking for and expecting more miracles in our life. So could it be that it's not that we don't see these miracles or we're not able to have them or experience them? It's not that. It's maybe that we're not utilizing the faith. We don't have the faith to even ask. But anyways, I've noticed with some of these other churches and people who have these YouTube channels where they go up to people and start prophesying over them and saying, I saw you in my dream last night. I was told that if I went into the city today at 2 o'clock, I would run into this person, and I was shown in my dream, and you're that person. This is your mom's name. This is your birthday. You work as a secretary at this place. You have a boyfriend named John, and then the people start crying like, how did you know all this about me? And then they say, the Lord has a message for you. You know, he loves you and he wants to heal you right now. I know that you have like a knot in your leg. Let me touch it and it will be healed. And so it's like big time miracles like that. And the people that watch these videos and the people in the videos are immediately just blown away and just say, wow, I'm going to follow you now. Like, I want to follow you. But I've noticed, you guys, I am a talker. I always have so much I want to share in my heart, so much that's on my mind. But I've noticed that these other churches, they bring in a lot of people with these videos and miracles and everything that they're doing that's so different, right, and sensational. But once they bring the people in, that's it. It kind of stops right there, right? Nobody checks in on these people. There's no assignment given to them, no opportunities to serve. There's no calling. There's no ministering. There's no order. They're bringing people in, and then once they're in, that's it. And then they move on to go find more people. And these people are just sort of left kind of floating around, not sure where their place is or what to do. And church becomes more of a thing where you just show up on Sunday to get something for yourself. You're there to witness something amazing and be entertained and just, worship and feel good, which it feels good to worship, right? But it kind of just stops there. Where in the Lord's true church, everybody is involved at some capacity of service and leadership, right? There is order in all things. It's not chaotic. Everything has order. And everybody's given a place. Everyone's given a responsibility, a calling. Everybody is checking in on one another so that nobody is swept under the rug, falling under the radar. We all care about each other, and it never stops. We become family. We know each other. We live by each other. We're in the wards and stakes. We take care of each other just like family would. We're in these bigger mega churches and a lot of these other churches. There are no boundaries, no word boundaries, stake boundaries. You can just move from church to church. Some people will drive hours away to go to the church of their choice, and others, will just go to wherever's in walking distance. But you kind of just do what you prefer or what's convenient. Where in the Lord's church, there is order. We have our stakes of Zion, right? And we are assigned to look out after one another and love each other and check in on each other and make sure we're doing okay and make sure that we feel loved and that we're being taken care of, our needs are being met, and we're being spiritually fortified. And we take that very seriously. It's a church full of service. The Lord's church is a church of service. Everybody is an active player in the Lord's church. We all roll up our sleeves and get to work. And it feels so good. That's how you grow your testimony. That's how you build the Lord's kingdom. Where I've noticed in a lot of these other churches, there's none of that. You just show up if you want to, when you want to, and you just watch a concert, right? You watch a concert, or you watch this amazing production, or you're a part of a really awesome worship session, right? But you witness all these miracles, and you just get really excited, and then when you're done, you just go home, and that's it. Where with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, with the Lord's church, you're accountable, right? You make covenants and you keep your promises, and every day you're living the gospel. It's not just on Sundays. It's every day. It's that higher law. It's the word of wisdom. It's the temple covenants. It's the commandments. It's a lot. And for some people, They don't want that. They just want to be able to do what's convenient or what works for them, which is fine. But that's the difference for me. That's what I noticed right away in discernment is the Lord's church is a church of order. It always has been, it always will be. That never changes. And everybody, the fruits of the Lord's church is service. It's not just the one cool pastor who's really good at speaking, right? Or the church that has the really cool worship band. It's more than that. It's much more than that. Everybody has a role. Everybody has a part to play, a calling, a responsibility. Everybody's a part of the work, and we all work together. And we don't get paid to do it. In these other churches, this is their job. This is what they're getting paid to do. And in our church, we all play a part, but we all do it voluntarily. We all come from different backgrounds, right? But we all have careers. Like, every family, somebody in that household is going to work every day, bringing home money to pay the bills. So we all have our day jobs, but in addition to that, we serve, and we do it because we believe in it. We do it for the Lord. We love it. And that's the difference. And I did notice that pastor who has that YouTube channel, he pointed that out, and he said, in my background, in my world, in my church, we get trained to become pastors. We go to school for it. We get educated. We take public speaking courses, and we learn how to be good speakers, how to captivate an audience, what not to do, what to do. That's why we're really exciting to watch, and it's entertaining because we're trained how to do that. It's our job. We get paid to do that. He says, what I admire about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is it's not their job. They don't get training. They have their full-time career that they went to school for, and they're raising families, and they're still fitting this in on top of it. So when you see a speaker at General Conference, or a stake president or a bishop speaking over the pulpit, or even just a member of the ward giving a talk on Sunday, they're just speaking from their heart. They're not trying to impress anyone. They're not trying to make that moment all about them and wow people. They're not getting paid to do that. It's really just coming from their heart, and it's what they've been asked to do, and they're willing to do it. So he really admired that. Anyways, I feel like I spent way too much time talking about that, but this reminded me of that we're living in that day where even the very elect are being deceived in all these different ways. So I've talked about in this video all these different ways that the adversary is deceiving people, whether it's identity confusion, confusion with your testimony, what's true, right? Confusion with things that you're hearing in the news. Oh my goodness, just so many things that are going on right now that can be really confusing, and you don't know what to believe or who to turn to. And that's why it's so important to have that relationship with the Lord, to cultivate your home and your life so that you have access to the Spirit 24/7, so that you have the Spirit with you. We have the gift of the Holy Ghost, which means when we're baptized, we get confirmed, we have that gift. That gift is always with us. Unless we've done something to offend the Spirit and send it away, we always have that Spirit with us, so we can trust that what we're being prompted to do or to learn about, or how to spend our time, that is from the Lord, because we've got that gift of the Holy Ghost with us. But when we're not honoring our covenants, or we're taking the Lord's name in vain, right? We're wearing the name badge, we're showing up on Sunday saying that we belong to the church, that we're disciples of Christ, but all throughout the week we don't even think about Christ. We forget all about Him. We don't honor those covenants or keep those commandments. When we do that, I believe we move away from the Lord, and we push that Spirit away. But when we're not pushing it away, it's always there with us. And when we take the sacrament every week, we're promised to always have His Spirit to be with us. So I just wanted to remind everybody that we have that gift. It's always with us. Okay, so let's finally finish up with one more thing I wanted to show you guys. And let me see where I put that. So my friend had this dream, and she typed it up. So I just wanted to show it to you real quick, because I feel like it just kind of ties in with everything that I shared today. Let's see. It probably got deleted. It was in here. Let me check down here. Let's see. Oh, this could be it. Yep, I found it. Yay! Okay. So let me pull up the dream first. I'm getting a little better at this, you guys. Okay. Here it is. I have to slide all the other images over so I can show this one. Okay, here it is. Excuse me, October 5th, 2022. I was in the temple lobby with Princess Kate Middleton. She was in a gorgeous sparkly blue gown and a large crown on her head. She was just as she is in person, kind, personal, and soft-spoken. She shared stories with me about the Queen, funny little stories that most don't know. The Queen wanting her to walk this or that way to hide her twilliness, and just cute little stories that made me laugh. I was impressed how Kate walked around being able to balance such a heavy crown. She had so much grace and beauty about her. She was never troubled, a fine leader. We were about to go through a temple ceremony, which Kate was familiar with. She noted the Queen had performed all her covenants before passing away. I pictured the Queen getting right to work on the other side with gospel service. Okay. All right, so let me go back and show you. This is what's really interesting is right after she had this dream, she wrote it down, and then she walks into a grocery store, and this is what she sees. Let me just move these all around. There we go. Okay, so she walks in, and all of a sudden she notices all of the magazines at the checkout are all about the royal family, Kate Middleton and the Queen, just cover after cover after cover, and she couldn't believe it. And so she took a picture of one of the magazines. Here it is. And here's what it says. This stood out to her. Kate's touching tribute, what I learned from the Queen. And she thought, oh my goodness, that's what was in my dream, is Kate was telling me all of these wonderful things that she learned from the Queen and how she was taught to be a better person and to use her stewardship in a good way, in like a righteous way, right? And she had learned that from the Queen, and she was so grateful. And she had just told her this in the dream, and then here this is, this cover of this magazine sort of saying the exact same thing. So she felt like kind of in that moment it was a witness to the truth of her dream. So then she went back and pondered more on the dream. And so let's go back to the dream. And she was thinking about how in the dream, Kate was in the temple, which tells her that Kate had made covenants, right? And that Kate had told her that the Queen, before she passed away, had also she had performed her covenant. She had made those covenants before she passed away. So it had her thinking, maybe with the things that are happening over right now in the UK, with everything that's going on over there and the changes that are being made, could it be that maybe Kate and William will have something to do in some way? They'll be a big part of the gathering of Israel in the UK. I don't know how that would look. I don't think my friend knows either. She just thought, I just feel like that's what my dream was trying to tell me, was that that they somehow will have a part eventually in the gathering of Israel in that part of the world, in the UK, right? I mean, that's where Ephraim is. That's where Ephraim came to, and we have Ephraim over here also in the United States, but our cousins across the pond, they are fellow Ephraimites, and that's part of our work. That's part of our mission, is to gather Israel. And so it's just so interesting how in her dream she was shown that the royal family would, I don't know that all of them, but these ones in her dream, they had accepted the gospel and received those ordinances, and they were I just thought it was interesting. She wondered how she was able to wear such a heavy crown, to carry such a heavy crown. And it made me think, it's possible that one day she would be the next queen and William would be the king, and that would be a heavy weight to carry, but they would do it well. And maybe somehow they would be a part of making it so that the gathering happens at a level we've never seen before in the UK. I don't know. I just feel like when she shared that, I felt some truth to that. It felt right. So I thought that was pretty awesome. Who knows? But it's one thing's for sure is there's a lot of things happening over there. There's a lot of change. It just feels like nothing is stable right now. There's a lot of instability, and things are just constantly shifting and changing over there as things are shaking up all over the world. And it just kind of makes you wonder what's going to happen, right? But the Lord has a plan, and He is in charge. He's in control, and it's going to be awesome to see what happens over there. And I talked about in that one video, so I don't want to repeat it, I talked all about the UK, the royal family, the Queen, gathering of Israel, and so many connections and patterns we've been seeing lately that point to that. So I feel like her dream was just another confirmation of that video, of what I shared in that video. All right, you guys, I think we are down to the last slide. For those of you who've been with me the whole time, bless you for your patience. And for those of you who are watching this later, thank goodness you can fast forward. Thank goodness for the skip option, right? Okay, so I love this. Let me blow it up on the screen. Let me just slide over all these other images, get them out of the way. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, here we go. Okay, I love this. So this right here, somebody took the time to go through and pull out a lot of President Nelson's, I'm not even sure what to call it. Let me read it, what they wrote, how they worded it. Okay, excuse me. Words and phrases President Nelson has used to warn and inspire us since becoming president of the church. Okay, so here they are. I love this. I love that somebody put this together. Okay, so he has said, ever since becoming prophet, I invite you to, I urge you to, I plead with you, I entreat you, I am extending a prophetic plea, I feel compelled, I promise you, please listen carefully. Listen to these words. I would further entreat, I testify, I invite all to hear him. My plea to you, I am calling for, may I voice a concern. In coming days, the anguish of my heart, I renew my plea. I encourage you. Please believe me when I say, I emphasize, I reaffirm, with all the pleadings of my heart, I call upon you. Do it now. Time is running out. All right, you guys. Oh, my sister's calling me right now. Oh, goodness. I'll call her back in just a minute. She doesn't know I'm doing a live video right now. If she gets on, she can have a conversation with me right now. I think I know why she's calling me, because I sent her the video of the Canada devotional early this morning, and I think she's now getting off work, and she's probably watched it and wants to talk about it. So if she gets on and finds this video, we can talk about it right here. All right, you guys, I'm actually finishing up right now. Let me go back and let's finish this out. Okay, we made it. Those were a lot of screenshots. Bless your heart for sticking with me through all of this video. But anyways, that last screenshot right there of President Nelson just kind of seals the message of this video. It's time to board the ark. We've been called to board the ark. We are boarding the ark right now. And it just says it right there. You can see that during his short term so far as prophet of the church, everything in his language, every time he speaks, gives an address, a talk, he's using language that is really urgent and just really plea. It's a plea. He's pleading with us. He's letting us know that the words he's telling us are so important. It's not something to just say, oh, that sounds nice. That was a beautiful message. You know, on with my day. Let's go shopping. He's trying to tell us what I'm telling you. The words that are coming out of my mouth are more than just words. Like, please listen to what it is I'm telling you and do it. And so that's the difference. Oh, my sister's calling me again. I'm going to put her on speakerphone. This is fun. Hey, Krista.
Yeah.
I'm doing a live YouTube video right now. Say hello to everyone.
Hello, everybody.
You can get on right now. But I'm almost done with my video, so I'm going to call you back in just a minute. I just saw that you kept calling me, so I'm going to call you right back, okay?
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, see ya, bye.
I love family. I love my family. I do. Okay, so I'm hoping in closing, I just want to share with what's on my heart. And I have just been feeling more than ever over the past several days, especially last night, that we really ought to, I'm really speaking for myself, but all of us, right? It would be really beneficial. It would be really worth our time. It would be really wise to go back and revisit General Conference, listen to the talks of the Canadian Devotional, and going forward, listening to everything that President Nelson says to us and the apostles, right? And our leaders. Listen to what it is they're telling us and write it down, ponder it, pray about it. Listen to what it is that the Spirit wants us to know about those truths, and then act. I think that's the most important part right there, is we have to act. We have to actually do what it is the prophet's telling us to do, not just think about it and, go to bed at night and think, well, that was a wonderful conference. Now I feel edified for the next 6 months. He actually wants us to go do what we're being taught. And that was emphasized at conference, that it's one thing to hear the words of the conference talks, and it's another thing to actually put them into practice and do them. You're accountable, right? You have to take those actions. And so, again, it made me think of the ark. God didn't force anybody onto the ark. Noah built the ark. The ark was complete, and it was a choice. Oh, my next door neighbor's calling me right now. Darn it. It was a choice. People chose to go onto the ark. So it was an action. They had to take that step to actually walk onto the ark. And so I feel like that's what we need to apply right now, in this moment. Right now, we need to view what's happening right now as the ark. And as it's been put before in past conferences, the good ship Zion, right? The gospel, the church, our covenants, that is the ark. And we need to get on the ark and stay on the ark. And not make fun of it, not question, not give in to the persecution, the people that are pointing fingers, the naysayers. Let all that strengthen our testimony. That if this wasn't true, if this wasn't, if the Lord wasn't in charge, if he wasn't at the head of things, then the adversary wouldn't be working so hard to attack it. So anyways, that's my message today, is I just hope and I pray that we can all try a little bit more to apply what the prophet's telling us, to apply what spoke to our hearts at conference, and then also to spend more time in the temple, right? And that's a sacrifice that's worth its weight in gold. I'm willing to do it. So I love the temple. There's no place I would rather be. It's not hard for me. Anyways, I thank you guys for joining me today with this message. I'd love to hear from you. In fact, I'll check real quick before I call back my sister and my neighbor if there's any comments coming in that we can talk about real quick. So I love the temple. Yes. Okay. So here we go. Oh, hello from Holland. Hello. I love Holland. I also love Elder Holland. No, I do. I love Holland. Thank you. Thank you for joining me today. Let's see. As in Isaiah that we have studied lately, when 7 women will ask to marry 1 man. Yes. Come Follow Me has been pretty similar to the church and world events so far after. Take care, dear sister. The righteous will accept it happily. The less righteous will accept it because they will realize there's no better way after the world devastations. I know, I believe that too, that I can't quote it word for word, but there's a scripture that says there will come a time when people will realize if they don't want to take up arms against their neighbor, because the whole world will be at war with one another. And people will realize, if I want safety and peace and I don't want to take up arms against my neighbor, I need to go to Zion. There's a place where there's peace. There's a place where these things are not happening, and I need to get there. So I agree. I believe that people will start to see that there is safety. There is safety in Zion, and people will desire to have that peace. Let's see. The law of consecration. Yeah, there could be a lot of things on the horizon. We really don't know. Something my friends and I were talking about is the sealed portion of the Book of Mormon. That would be so awesome to finally be able to have that and read that and know what the brother of Jared saw. Just like we all want to find Wendy Nelson in the next life. That's what she said to us. She gave that invitation. If you want to know the details of what happened before General Conference, find me in the next life and I will tell you all of those stories. So that's also how I feel about the sealed plates. I would love to read that. Something to look forward to for sure. Let's see. We have a donut day instead of Halloween. My mother-in-law has been doing it for 17 years. My 7-year-old daughter this month has been walking up to everyone and telling them about donut day. Is it Chandra or Chandra? A lot of you guys, we've never talked in person, so I don't even know if I'm saying your names right. I want to say Chandra, or is it Chandra? Anyways, that is such a great idea. Donut day. I love that. I do. I feel like there's so many ways that we can live the higher law. We can live a higher way, and it doesn't have to be a negative thing. We can make sacrifices and replace those things with something better. And I love that. Donut day. That is so cute. Liz, I just finished listening to her talk as well. Oh, I think I already read that, didn't I? Yes, absolutely. We want to know what the opposition is. So we will find out someday, maybe sooner than later. But anyways, thank you guys for joining me today. It's been such a pleasure having this time with you and going live with you. I promise next time I will spend time studying this program and figuring it out so we don't have all the delays that we had today. But anyways, I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Now I need to figure out how to exit. Here we go.